Stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we got quite a few things on the agenda tonight. Paul Cranston is supposed to join us, from what I understand, around 7 o'clock to discuss the letter of non-opposition regarding the CPC proposal. So, and I think we need to move ahead on, take the liberty to deal with the aerial fire apparatus before we take up some of the new business, then I'll go back to the minutes.
Bids closed today. We opened the bids 2 weeks ago for the used ladder truck that was appropriated at the special town meeting. The bids closed at noon today. We only received one bid. It was for $85,000 for the truck. It's from Indiana, St. John, Indiana, just outside the suburb of Chicago. The truck we wanted. We've been working with this dealer for the last couple months to try to get this truck for the town. They included their bid. The dealer that's selling the truck was the original dealer that sold it to the fire department that bought it new. And they did all the service records. They've included every service and maintenance that they provided since the truck was new. It's photos. The only one we got.
You satisfied with that one?
Yeah, that's the one we wanted. It's the only one, it's the only used ladder truck in the country that will fit in our station. That's 100 feet of ladder, so that was the biggest constraint we had, was to get one that could fit length and height-wise into the station. That one fits with very little room to spare, but it will fit.
And so you would look to acquire this and then go and do the other service stuff you had mentioned to kind of bring it.
So this brand truck E1, the dealer for New England is located in Attleboro.
Okay.
We would buy the truck, needs to have painted to match the rest of our truck, lettering. There's a few minor things wrong, you know, some of the seats are ripped, we can have fixed, needs new brakes like a used vehicle. We can send it down to the dealer, the E1 dealer in Attleboro, and they will do all the service work from a factory certified
Okay.
as the dealer.
You gonna get any customizing done to fit our stuff, cabinets and things?
Yep, and they'll do all that right
All
at
at the same
Attleboro.
place?
They could have done it at this place and then added whatever it was into the bid, but I figured we'd get it here, fit our equipment, see what we need.
I don't know if you want to see it.
That way we
Yeah,
can
I'm
make it
fine with it.
perfect from there.
Okay. We get ample opportunity.
But it's a pretty good truck. Part of the deal, it was about $1,000 to fly 2 people out there, spend the night, check out the truck and fly home. So rather than do that prior to getting the bid award and taking that money out of the money that could be used for the truck, we put in the bid that part of the deal is prior to giving the check and signing it over, we have to do a final inspection of the truck. I did a video, face chat inspection of the truck with the dealer. The dealer's very reputable.
Okay.
So it's pretty much everything he told us it's gonna be.
Okay.
Now, what do you do with the old truck? Is that just,
It's got 0 trade-in value. They won't give us any $500 for trade-in, so we'll have to put it on municipal or,
something?
yeah, probably just put it on municipal and I'm sure there's a collector out there that would buy it for parts maybe. I don't even know. It's gotta be worth something, scrap.
I think they only pay about $10,000 for it, didn't they, when they bought it from
12.
Pittsburgh?
Yeah, and then we put another 10 into it for maintenance.
Yeah. Okay.
Did us well for a few years, that's for sure.
Yeah, this truck will last quite a while once we can get a little bit of custom work done to it.
Okay.
Be a good truck. So I don't know if you have the list that you have to sign. It was another one of these.
I think Phil created something.
Well, I would suggest that the board approve a contract award pending inspection of the vehicle by the fire department. And I have the contract forms tonight, if you'd like to sign, tonight, get this going.
Do we, okay.
Is that we
General
all have
procurement
some-
contracts, aren't they normally just signed by the town administrator?
You want that spelled out?
I mean, historically, that's how,
I would just use
Heather
the
did it right.
sample that Heather had used for a previous,
I believe on the truck, we bought a used fire truck back in January to replace our year one, and the selectmen signed that.
we did.
I'm
Oh.
pretty sure, yeah, because this is,
Okay.
we use the same.
Template.
And that's fine, I'm just catching up, it's,
You know, on
I'm
the back of
take
the
some
one
repetition.
that we has all this, it's at your place for your signatures on the back, and for the vendor on the contract.
So when do you think it would be up and operational?
If everything gets signed tonight, probably go out next week, do the inspection, sign the paperwork, and then, rather than driving home and risk an accident or a breakdown far away, I think we're just gonna have it shipped. I've been talking to trying to get some good prices around, be around $2,500 to have it trailered out, which is almost cheaper than driving it home ourselves after we pay for diesel fuel, so. We get it, we could probably have it in Barry within 2 weeks. And then whatever the shop in Attleboro, I don't know how busy the shop is, to get it in there and do the letter work, change everything to Barry, would probably take another 2 to 3 weeks, so probably, I would think, mid-June, it would be in service, everybody trained and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're gonna have to have part of this is E1's gonna provide factory training, they're gonna send one of their reps out to train us on how to use this specific brand of truck.
Oh, okay, that's good.
All right, nice.
Okay, I think it would be good if we could have, you know, the two new pieces of equipment, you know, maybe up at the Ruggles Lane when we have the town meeting, people can see what we've gotten, and
Absolutely.
I think that, you know, chiefs in the past have done that, as I recall, and,
Absolutely.
yeah. You know, people like to see what we have.
We've been using them too much, but I haven't been able to get a picture of them yet.
Yeah, well, we had a busy few days, I guess. Ay, ay, ay.
Unfortunately.
I would make a motion to approve the purchase of this ladder truck.
I would second that.
Okay, discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. In favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm in favor. Okay. And we'll sign that contract. It's all set, right?
yes.
Yeah. You-
I don't need it tonight, because I believe Gene has to sign it.
Okay, yeah, it'll be,
Right.
we'll do it right after,
We won't be going
towards the end of the meeting.
All right, I can stop by in the office and sign it anytime it's ready. It's you and Gene.
They'll
have
have
done
I think it's
it.
ready now.
You folks do.
Have you and Gene signed it?
I haven't signed, I was waiting for you.
Well, I would do it in the reverse order. That way I know,
Okay.
I'm not trying to be, my preference is to know that you and Gene have done your due diligence. So that's just how and I'll stop in any night you say it's ready.
All right.
I believe Gene has to sign it for his signature. All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll back up to the minutes. And I need a motion on minutes for March 15th, March 20th, and April 20th.
Did we get any copies of those?
They were all emailed to you guys.
Okay.
I have the originals
That's
here.
fine. I have no objection. I'd make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for March 15th, March 20th, and April 20th, 2017.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, discussion, errors, omissions?
I don't know if you want to read them.
Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. In favor?
Aye.
Make sure I read them all.
No, it was just different, that's all. I remember you used to, I don't mind what you just did. I just-
Okay, we have Selectmen's report. Did the board members have anything they wish to bring up this evening?
Yes. If you're okay, I'll start. Been working with Brianna to set up the regional building commissioner agreement, where we're talking about possibly doing an agreement with Petersham, Braintree, Hardwick, and it was also Ocam.
Sure.
And possibly Ocam. I'm still catching up on all the towns that are a part of it, but we're gonna meet this Thursday, May 4th, here at the Selectmen's Meeting Room to discuss that potential agreement. It may not be here, it might be upstairs. I gotta double check where the, I just know that this building was identified as the place to meet. So we're gonna start a little bit more discussion than we had at the last meeting about a month and a half or two. Just kind of presenting the idea. We're gonna get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty to see the benefits to all the towns and what works for all of us. May 4th.
Okay, that
That's it.
sounds good. Do you have anything you wish to? Okay. Just to let the board know, and public know, I attended the meeting up at Quabbin the other night regarding the one that was the school committee meeting and the meeting with the Collins Center, just looking at the various options and the trends in the school district and everything. It was quite interesting. You know, they laid it out pretty good. I thought it was just, you know, this option and the benefits and everything, this option versus that different option, and they had them all. Looked like pretty close to all of them, dealing with the elementary schools and junior, senior high school, and some of the things that they might add suggestions on how to strengthen the school and maybe add some students in some programs and gain some economies of scale there, which should help in certain areas that, you know, we might be able to save some money on. And most of the costs fall within a range that seemed to be within the norm for the state of Massachusetts, especially the cities and towns west of Worcester. So some were a little lower on, some were a little higher on. The overall average seemed to drop within the norm, I thought. And but they've got some tough decisions to make and where they're going to go. And one of the options I think I was pleased to see was that they spoke about, you know, if they had to add bus routes or something, that was built into their assumptions, which was, I had wondered about right along as to whether we'd actually save any money if we had to do that on the closing of the school. So I thought that was pretty good. The other thing is, I got a comment on some of the speeding. I call it the South Street extension, but it's from, the complaint was regarding the stretch from Robinson's horse farm all the way down to the intersection with Chamberlain Hill. And now, I know people run the stop sign there, and I've seen that, but I guess Bill, if we can mention it to the chief that we've gotten some complaints on that, and just ask them if they can patrol a little more. I'm sure. I think that was about it, what I had that time. Okay. Bill, did you have anything you wanted? I know you went to some Central Mass, some of the things up in Rutland as well, right?
I have. Actually, I think that there are negotiations tomorrow on Wednesday regarding the dispatch,
Yep.
so I'll be going to that. I've been working on complete streets. I did a walkthrough up here in Berry Center and down in South Berry. I've compiled a list of projects that we might want to consider having done as part of the Complete Schools program. We're having a public hearing on May 16th, so that's been published. And I want to run the list by possibly Chris Higgins, if he's willing, to talk about some ADA requirements, perhaps, and also Jason Pimento of DPW to see if he has any input. And then the public is invited to come to the hearing as well to add any suggestions they have.
Okay, what time is the meeting, May 16th, do you know?
Well, it's at the planning board, so it'll probably be about 7 o'clock.
Okay.
I think it's 7:30 actually.
Okay.
And then I compiled a list of items that, actually I just followed up on what Heather Ballou had done back in January. I have it as of April 18th, but perhaps we could discuss it at our next meeting and go through where the projects are at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I noticed, one of the emails or whatever that came through to me was that there's a meeting this week, Wednesday afternoon, to discuss the transportation improvement planning. And I think I saw the list of projects out 5 years, and I noticed we didn't have projects on there, and I don't know.
I'm not quite sure what we're slated for. I know we just did the big one, the common improvements, so
Yeah.
I don't know quite if we have anything currently or not. That meeting would be down at Union Hall, Union
Yeah.
Station in Worcester, though.
Well, one I had thought about was, we have down on Main Street, South Barry, between Barry Plains and South Barry, we have two, I call them culverts, but they're a little bigger than that, that have weight limits on them, right down by Salvador's, and there's another one closer to the Barry Mill, between the Barry Mill and the church. There's one there that has a weight limit on it, and I didn't know if we should be trying to work those on to the tip to, secure the funding. I'm not sure, I don't think they're, as jobs go, they're very big, but they gotta be done at some point.
Well, if you want to identify them, I can contact the
Yeah.
RPC and see if we can add them.
Yeah, I figure, probably in the 4th or 5th year on this thing now, I would guess, but you don't know how they're going. I was thinking of that one, I didn't know, probably a few others. And, did you have something? Yeah, Sam?
When you had a meeting with the school committee, was there any discussion about the issues regarding the schools on South Street in regards to the students and the number of students and the cost of the students? Was anything discussed in that regard?
That was basically the entire evening, was the number of students, the cost, how to keep certain costs are fixed, and certain one, you got more play, but it's how to make the school run more efficiently. That was basically the whole meeting. So they spent a lot of time on that and coming up with an option if elementary schools were to close, which is the most efficient way to do it. I don't have the figures with me, I don't think, but there would be some immediate savings to the 5 towns. Not all of it would accrue to Barry, but and certain things, and it would. They also had spoken about realigning the money to make the school maybe more attractive to people staying, and which would help some of the efficiencies as well. So the whole meeting was about that. Claire?
Didn't they say, Maureen's, I think it was on the Quabbin website, they have a report on there. They were gonna put it up
Yeah.
for the, what went on at the meeting.
Yeah, I know they handed the.
Yeah, they handed that out, but then she said it was gonna be on the website.
Okay.
For anyone that hadn't attended the meeting.
Yeah, there were actually quite a few people there. It was a good meeting, I thought. People were asking very good questions, and they were questions you'd expect to be asked, and I thought pretty frank discussion, and what this stuff costs, and, you know, certain costs have gotta come down and everything, so.
And it was recorded, right, Charlie?
What?
It was recorded.
Yeah, it was recorded.
You on
Yep.
cable, yep.
Yep. Yeah, they were recording. Yeah. I think your grandson probably knows more about the school district than anybody else. He seems to. So, yeah, it was recorded, so it should be on. Was there any other question? Do you have? No, okay. But I thought it was a good meeting. They had talked about, you know, with some consolidation, there might be some, you know, a lot better utilization of time, so that we might not have to have some of the specialized, as much specialized personnel, because they wouldn't be going to as many stops around the school district. And there was a lot of time spent on the special needs budget, and that's a, you know, kind of a difficult one to get a handle on. So that seems to be where the bulk of the increases have been coming. So that's what was discussed at that. I didn't go to the meeting afterwards. There was a school committee meeting over in the other building after the meeting, but I didn't let them run their meeting, and I think we got a letter involved in that today. So, one of the things that I know we've got to somehow figure out a way to write this, but I think we want to start applying for some of the block grants, especially if there's more construction coming down from the federal government, which sounds like there might be. And I don't know what the best way to approach. Years ago when we did it, we had Central Mass writing our grants, and the way it was set up was they would administer the grant if we got it, and they would help us prepare the grant for us, and the understanding they'd be administering it. And I don't know if they have enough help to do that now, or what the best approach is on that.
Well, I think they have enough help down there. I'm sure they would appreciate the monies to do it.
Yeah. So what do we have to do? Just get in touch with them and?
Well, I believe the state was holding, was it a hearing or some sort of meeting regarding that, pending what was happening at the federal level. I'm not sure what the status of that is right now. I know that Heather had mentioned the community development strategy. The town should consider adding a line item to the budget for consulting services and to pay for town planner services for infrastructure projects and so forth. One item in particular would be to request technical services from CMRPC to write the town's community development strategy, which is a requirement to apply for CDBG funding. The state is still developing this year's application for the March 2017 CDBG grant. I could contact and CMRPC and we'll see where things are with them and what we would have to do to be part of that.
Do we have a primary point of contact with CMRPC for our town?
I think it depends on the particular item, whether it's in transportation, there are people there. I know regional services is probably Chris Settles. There's the community development area. I don't know that there's a specific individual assigned to Barry. So they serve all of the towns, but I could at least let them know we're wondering what the status of the block grant process is.
Does, I think what, at least my perspective, I don't know, of course it would depend on what everybody else thinks, but we had started the project up through High Plains, and I think it was a 3-phase project to continue rebuilding the water lines back down from High Plains to Barry Plains, and then down Main Street to the store in South Barry eventually. It was 3 phases, 1 phase is done. And things kind of stopped there for a while, but it would get all, we're putting in new water lines and stuff like that, and the road gets repaired and everything in the process, so. That was the plan. I understand the design work is done. I didn't think it was all done, but I understand it was done. And Bill, maybe you know this one. A while back, about a year ago, I had spoken at one of the meetings about the establishment of a community development corporation as a way of helping small business get started. Now, I don't know what the best procedure is.
Well, there's certainly no CDC here in Barry.
Well, I know that.
I think the closest one is probably Quabog CDC in Ware.
Yep. There's one up in Athol, I know that, Miller's River CDC.
Right.
That one's probably further away. They got their hands full, I think.
So you'd be interested in getting small businesses started?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and, you know, just a way of, it's one way to kind of pick things up. Not going to be very fast, but it will create some jobs and things of that nature. And they have a little more latitude than the town to operate kind of quasi-independently.
We are currently building a business community for Barry, a private organization that probably could help with that concept.
Yeah.
Just because you'd have a lot of people in town that could all work together towards that and maybe help without having necessarily one place assigned yet. And again, just something to build off of, to grow into. I know that,
Okay, I just wanted to bring that up. So, we have Attorney Cranston in with us tonight again, and dealing with the letter of non-opposition for the CPC. And I don't know, Paul, if you want to address the board, or the board
I just
has...
have one thing. I did speak with Dean today, and
Yep.
he asked if he could remotely participate, so we could call him on a conference call on the phone.
cannot legally do that yet. We have to go through a whole formal process and verification of the fact that he's in a place. There's some rules about remote participation that you can't just do at the spur of the moment.
The
I
board's
think-
supposed to have rules.
Yeah, I think we accepted remote participation in the,
Did we?
you guys didn't, the prior board had accepted remote participation.
Then I will hold back from my statement. That may have been premature. I apologize.
If needed, I don't know.
I don't
Well,
recall.
First of all, Dean will not be here this evening, obviously, so, but I still haven't heard back from Jim Baird on the covenant that I sent to him some time ago. Is he expected to be here this evening? Anyone know?
No, I thought he was. I thought his follow-up he was, but you have to talk to him. Well, anyway, we got quite a list of questions, and they got sent out to him. Some came back, some answers we have, as far as I know, from what I've seen. And I don't know if board members have anything they wanted to ask, or...
I actually asked him a couple of follow-ups, which he answered. I think I included it when I sent him the question in regards to processes for the extraction of the THC. But my concern, what I was asking about was that sometimes it's done with butane, which is when there's a fire explosion hazards, but it's not their process. They plan to use CO2 for it. And it's also a recovery system would cover, I believe it's at 95% of the CO2 recovered. It's not releasing any gases out, and it's not using
Can you
any.
do something, speak up? We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. My question I sent to Dean was, if they're going to extract THC, what process will they use for it? The process, as I understand, involves putting the pressurized gas through a heated chamber back at the marijuana, and it extracts the liquid that they use. It's essentially an extract. One of the processes uses butane, which is what we know is in cigarette lighters. It's explosive and flammable. It's also done with CO2, and that's what they plan to use. So it's a non-flammable, non-explosive gas. And they also intend to recover 95% of it. So it's sort of a closed-loop system. So you're not releasing any gases out. That satisfied my concerns as far as the processes or further processing of marijuana at the facility. The other question I did ask was in regards to the environment, because the marijuana apparently grows better in a CO2-rich environment. And they have plans to bring the CO2, I'm just sitting in front of me here, I think it was up between 1,000 and 1,800 parts per million, but well within the acceptable levels for workers. And there are safeguards, there are alarms, there's an automatic venting roof if it should exceed the safe levels, and people are supposed to evacuate until they get it repaired. So those are my major concerns. When I had asked originally Attorney Cranston if they intended to do further processing there, it was about more worker safety than anything, but also potential impacts if we had fire hazard or other environmental impacts, depending if they're recovering versus releasing gases. But he's satisfactorily answered all those to me, as I was just expressing to you. Those were my concerns.
Okay.
General questions that I had presented, about 8, 9 of them. They were kind of broad general questions, so they covered a lot. They present that they're going to use approximately 1,900 gallons of water a day. Quick check with the DPW, appears that it's not excessive for that area. It's actually an area that apparently is fed by both Lower Southbury and Uptown. The two different water systems, they kind of have a connection point somewhere close to that. And it sounds like when we get into planning stages, it'll determine the appropriate system to tap into and how to do that. But it doesn't sound like it's something that would prevent us from letting them go to the planning stage. In other words, it's not an excessive cost that we have to worry about. It'll just be a nice little income. 1,800 gallons a day is going to be a nice little water bill for the town. Sewer, the fertilizers are phosphate with no nitrates. As they presented, those are the primary parts that'll be going into it, which means some of that will make it into the wastewater, but again, speaking to DPW members, it appears that their system is designed to be able to filter the phosphate, so it shouldn't be a big issue. At this rate, based on their understanding of what was presented, I do know that since the questions were responded to and the answers provided, I believe our sewer operator hasn't really been in, so he hasn't been able to himself do a deep analysis of some of the references. So I would only hold off if he found something deeper in the references, because not everything was specifically identified. Some of it said we're going to be able to do what we can according to some state statute, which doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It's just I'm not familiar with the statute. So if it's an issue, it'll come up. If it goes beyond normal at the planning stages and all that, they can work out any deals similar like they've done with waste management and other things. When somebody's going to bring in an excessive amount of something that requires extra effort, we kind of cut a separate deal. Other than that, it's just your standard sewer rates. So I didn't find anything kind of, let's say, scary for unforeseen costs to the town. Again, Greg brought up the CO2 processing, so it doesn't look like we're setting ourselves up with a big 10,000 square foot bomb. So that'll be good. Talked about one of the questions that had been brought up from different people in town, or is it gonna create a neighborhood that smells like marijuana? And they say their answer to that is, as it's planned, it'll utilize a sealed greenhouse design that'll have ground-to-air heat transfer system. There will be no external exhausting of air. Should greenhouse design change to an unsealed facility, odor mitigation controls will be incorporated into the design. So right now their plan is to pretty much put in a pretty tight building so that they're not going to be exhausting air that'll blow down into a neighborhood and upset certain neighbors. Similarly, exterior lighting. Now they've got two things that they gotta balance there, the light pollution that we know exists out there, and then also the fact that they gotta maintain a certain level of perimeter security. So they're gonna have to balance that, and they know it, but they're gonna do what they need to meet the Department of Health requirements. But they also will consider, when they don't have to, they're not gonna just create unnecessary light that shoots across the neighborhood for no reason. Now, that's just questions right now. You're gonna have to get into the design. Some things will vary. Some people will have different opinions of what's required. But at least they're willing to look at and not just throw light out just for throwing light out. We brought it to their attention. It was asked how many pounds of plant material, 500 plus was the answer. Asked about solid waste. Some of the solid waste may be unused plant products. You get kind of like, I don't know, like straw type stems, I don't know. But whatever they don't use is regulated by the state and how they get rid of it. And apparently, if I read it right here, no fewer than 2 dispensary agents will witness and document destruction or disposal in a landfill holding a valid permit issued by the DEP or by the appropriate state agency. I mean, in a way, what they did in some of the answers here is they literally copied the state regulation and said, we're going to do what this state regulation said. So that kind of made me comfortable to know, one, that the state did provide a regulation and that they're aware of it. Asked about any on-site composting. They don't plan on any on-site composting. Should they, at a later date, choose to utilize composting methods, they'll all be in compliance with 105 CMR 725. They may use pre-composted mixtures as plant food additive in compliance with the same regulation. These all have their own references within references when you get into these regulations. Again, it pretty much means that they're going to follow the state regulations that apply to composting. And if that means the local board of health has a say in it, they'll have their say at the time when they go to request to do that. Currently, the planned hours of operation are 8 in the morning to 6 at night for workers, Monday through Friday, and 8 to 4 on Saturday. So there will be no work on Sundays. This is how it's been presented when we asked. Then they kind of revisited the, let's see, how do I put this? The contribution to the Berry Council on Aging for caregiver respite. CPC would like to see annual funds of $25,000 dedicated to the Council on Aging to be used towards a respite caregiver program. Ideally, the council would identify those persons in town or acting as unpaid caregivers or purchaser and purchase vouchers, or simply pay an elder services company on behalf of the caregivers. CPC will agree that should the Berry Board of Selectmen deem a different use necessary for the funds, CPC will allow the board to manage the distribution of program funds. I'm just reading out some of these things just because I know people were concerned and interested. As I read through these answers, though, I have not found anything that caused me to think that the town was incurring a greater cost than anticipated based on just the water rates, sewer rates, and property tax that would apply for the nonprofit. The one question that came up and continues to come up that has concern for the town is the potential for the state to automatically provide recreational on top of the medical. What I would like to see, assuming that happens, is we need to clarify with CPC in the town of Berry if they move to enter into that recreational cultivation and processing. One, either how they propose, or two, what the legal ramifications are from going from a nonprofit to a recreational use And can you be a nonprofit supplying recreational distribution? Because in my opinion, you are now a for-profit business, and how are you gonna define the differences so we know what to tax you on? It's a different industry, and it doesn't just fall under medical, and that's where the covenant, certain details need to be identified now, so when the time comes, we know at minimum, we sit at the table again if you proceed to move with recreational and revisit the potential cost associated with doing business in Barry. Other than that, I don't see any other issue because we've already agreed with the general covenant of no walk-up service. We'd request that that would maintain throughout that whole process, unless the town at some point in our lives approach you and say we can revisit this and change this. Kind of like the covenant gave us that right. But that would be my biggest thing, is just if you move to recreational, we need to revisit kind of the financial and the tax opportunities the town has, because you would be moving from a that's not the right word. You'd be moving from general non-profit business to a profit business.
I don't think it,
Medical is considered non-profit and we don't tax you.
But isn't there?
Recreational is not in the general industry of Massachusetts. Not necessarily marijuana, but you can discount all your medical expenses pre-tax, even your income tax doesn't get. But if it's not medical, we don't look at it that way. We're not giving benefits to people that are looking for recreational purposes. Actually, we usually tax you a lot. Think of cigarettes. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is it's a different thing when you move to recreational versus medical. That's my perception. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I would like to look at that as something we could revisit as part of the covenant.
And I don't think that's an issue. I think that what we had indicated earlier, that we would agree to go through whatever process is necessary for the record, because it's, they haven't even made the rules and regulations about it yet, so.
Understood. It was something we didn't necessarily write into the covenant, so I'd like to just, as part of that, just say, when that time comes, we agree to revisit the town of Barry and maybe potentially negotiate what that difference means.
I think an important reason to put that in is items 16 and 17 basically deal with, passing this permit on and having the rights to the land, not to the owner. So clearly Dean, the owners, would have the right to sell this to some other partner or some other business. And that's what would be more concerned to look into recreational. Someone else might not be of like mind if they purchase it, to stay out of recreational. So you see where that comes from?
Yeah, I'm thinking that it might be more appropriate to put that in the host agreement rather than the covenant. The covenant is a restriction on the real estate. The host agreement is an agreement between the company and the town. So that might be more appropriate to be in the host agreement, saying in the event we want to go into the recreational arena, we will come back to the town, obtain the appropriate permits, comply with whatever state regulations there are, and do whatever needs to be done. It won't just be piggybacked, as somebody said earlier on.
I talked to state rep when we had our awards night. He indicated that the state intends to push forward the recreational automatically to medical holders in FY 2018. So I don't have any way to verify that beyond what he told me at the meeting, but I'd like to believe that he's sitting in the state meetings and that he's going to have a little inside scoop on it. Just to protect
Is
it.
in favor of it, or?
I don't know. I didn't ask if he's in favor or opposed to it, but I told him it really seems to me that the townsfolk here, more than not, are in favor of it. So it's pretty much coming here.
I just got one question, Charlie. Where do you see the host community agreement falling in the timeline of this process? We've got a covenant, we've got a letter of non-opposition and a host community agreement. And my motion last time we met was to complete a host community agreement before signing the letter of non-opposition or support.
Correct.
Do you agree with that? Or are you thinking differently?
I don't have the ability to agree or disagree with your motion that was seconded and passed, so that's what we're working with right now. There's no reason whatsoever that we can't have a host agreement and a covenant in place. We should have been 90% of the way there tonight, and it should be in place and signed at your next meeting. There's no,
Okay, I'm just thinking, you're thinking a similar timeline then?
Right.
Let's accomplish it all and move forward.
right.
Okay, that's really all I wanted to know. I didn't want to think covenant now and a community agreement another day, because I agree. I'd rather review it, know what we're doing, and then move forward before we write the letter. So that was, I just wanted to, and I can't speak for everybody on that timeline of how long it'll take. I agree with generally what you're saying, though.
I will tell you that that is our expectation. It's been out there, we've answered all the questions. There's no reason why we cannot have a host agreement and a covenant, and back here in 2 weeks, sign those, sign the letter. The letter's a 2-sentence letter. It's a standard, they've given you the pre-printed form. So all of those documents should be ready, they should be circulated between Attorney Baird and myself and you folks, and then we can come back here and sign them in 2 weeks if that needs to be done. There should be no impediment to that.
I have a,
Yep, Jim?
I agree with Paul on the covenant, and the only reason I haven't prepared a modified version yet is I wanted to kind of hear what the board had to say, having gotten all the input that they got during the last 2 weeks. As to the host community agreement, I haven't started one. Have you started one?
I have not, but I've reviewed several of them, and they're not that complicated. It's a fairly simple
Okay.
agreement. You put in it what you want. Every town has a different community host agreement. And I'm sure, Phil, I'm sure you've looked at some of them. They're not, each time, I've seen them 15 pages, I've seen them 5 pages. It doesn't need to be that complicated. But I need to know what we've discussed here tonight will be part of that. It'll be the respite program. It'll have some other legal language. I mean, I'm happy, Jim, to take the first crack at it and send it over to you, but I want that document reviewed, edited, circulated to your board, so we're not messing around for another 2 months. It's a simple document.
I agree with Attorney Cranston. I just think what you and I probably are looking for is the same thing. What is it that the board wants in that
Right.
agreement?
We can't, once again, we can't deliberate on this till we sit here. We have gotten all the questions, we've read them all through, we've all kept up with this individually, but we can't make any actions or decisions or discussions until we sit here, or have a meeting, special meeting therefore. But we're doing that tonight, and once again, I think I'm happy with the answers to the questions that I had and concerns. Sounds like Matt's happy with his, so that's a good step forward for us. I would ask, so if I could, for clarification, it was 27. Do you agree that all applicants, employers, commercial cultivation sites shall submit fingerprints and be subject to criminal background checks? And basically you deferred it to see question 12 above, which defers it to the 105 CMR. Instead of us and also whoever submitted this question to us having to look that up, could we just give a straight answer to it?
I don't have that.
You see what I'm saying? They were asking, they're gonna be fingerprinted, and we basically said, well, go read the CMR, which is.
Basically, what
what I
the
want.
answer is, if it's required, they'll be fingerprinted. If it's not required, they won't be fingerprinted. I don't know if he has the legal authority to require someone to be fingerprinted that's coming in to work in that facility. So the question is, why do you think Dean's going to put someone in one of those positions where he thinks that they may have committed a felony that's going to cause him a problem? This is a high-security business. He's not going to put somebody in that's going to put this business that he just spent millions of dollars on at risk. So, I mean, let's think about the question. Some of these questions.
I wasn't suggesting that they should or shouldn't. I'm just saying the question was whether they be fingerprinted. The answer straightforward to the people would be,
I'm
if it's
sure-
required, yes. If not, then no.
The person that did this
That's-
clearly has the ability to use a computer, because a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
questions came from someone else, somewhere else, and they get them off of a computer.
Probably.
So all they have to do is Google CMR, whatever it is, and look the reg up and read it. It's not that complicated. I did not myself look it up. I assumed that the person could be able to do that themselves. Otherwise, I would have had to have copied all the CMRs and all the regs that Dean referenced and brought them in. I don't know the answer to the question. But again, incredibly tight security.
Simple enough, I think, to say that if it's required, yes, if it's not required by the law, no.
Right,
I think that's.
right.
The plan isn't to fingerprint everybody, it's to simply do what the law says.
And they're very serious about the security.
Well, I would think so.
Facilities.
It's not a small undertaking, no question.
Okay. Liz?
This is a question for Attorney Baird, really. There's going to be an article on the warrant about a moratorium on recreational marijuana development of any kind until the state gets their act together.
No, it's
right?
still, it's gonna be too date specific.
Or it's the end of 2018.
Correct.
It's 1 year.
What I don't get is, if that passes town meeting, would that apply to this facility if you've already signed your letter of non-opposition? Would that moratorium apply to this?
I think that's a real good question, because I think that's gonna wind up how the state defines it. We'll see.
That's gonna wind up what?
How the state defines it.
Yeah.
They may say if it's already a facility, they can do what they want, because we already have marijuana.
Right.
They may not stop us, we already have the facility. We won't know, I'm sorry, I'll let the attorney
that's-
answer, but
But that's the point of the moratorium that they're asking town meeting to vote on, because we don't know what the laws are gonna be. So we wanna just not have anything, not have the town agree to anything before we know what the rules are gonna be. Does that make
Well,
sense?
sort of an answer to your question, maybe I'm gonna pose it in a way that's really not an answer. In my little brain, I think the people we send down to Boston have done an extremely lousy job in handling the situation. But that's my own impression. They aren't stupid. They know that medical marijuana was passed, what is it, 3 years ago? 2 years?
2012.
12, okay, it's even more. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, comes the referendum last fall, the ballot question for recreation. I mean, are they all dumb, stupid, ignorant, or are they just sitting back playing dum-dum? I don't know what their game is. The answer to your question, unfortunately, is more in their hands than it is the town of Barry's hands as far as what we can do with that moratorium. The moratorium is our best effort to not have a recreational marijuana facility in the town before that moratorium gives the planning board and other town officials an opportunity to develop what we want in our town.
Exactly.
But what the state does over and above that, we probably won't have much control the way they're going so far.
my impression is the state's in it for the money. It looks like they're getting 10% tax now on recreational, on medical, and they wanna bump it to 15%. I mean,
Yeah, they're
they're
looking
not
at the
talking
money
about
as
much
opposed
of the
to the-
towns,
Yeah.
but they're taking a very big piece for the state for tax money, and I think that's what they're driven by. And we need to hopefully talk to state reps and senators to get them to pay attention to just don't be blinded by the money, because they are getting some big money. I don't know what they plan to do with it for sure either, but.
So, I still don't know the answer to my question. If the moratorium passes the town meeting, would it apply to this facility if you've already signed?
It would.
If this is already in the pipeline?
It would, because they're not asking for recreational use
That's
right
right.
now.
That's the way,
And it doesn't
Okay,
mean they
then,
can't
yeah.
get it at the end of December 2018, so it just means they gotta wait a year.
No.
I think what she's saying.
No, I mean, so it would apply.
I'm absolutely not opposed to any marijuana development. I just want to know, I think the moratorium is a good idea because we don't know what the rules are going to be.
Right.
So I just want, want to know that the moratorium would still apply until the end of 2018.
That's my understanding.
If you sign the letter before it's been voted on by town meeting. That's what I want to know. You see what I mean about time, the time thing, Jim?
It's almost like your grandfather, one way or the other.
I know what
They
you're
have the
saying.
letter first before these rules come out, so they should
Okay.
work. Or we have the regulation in the moratorium before the state law comes out, so that should hold.
Yeah.
But I don't know the answer.
Matt?
Does anyone
I would like
see
to-
what I'm asking?
Yes, and
Yes,
this is
we
what
do,
I
but
think
it's-
breaks
I
it down
don't know.
simply. What's been presented before the board right now is to create a medical cultivation and processing center.
Which I'm all in favor of.
We can write a letter of non-opposition for that, and it has nothing to do with the parallel path of a recreational facility.
Right.
And so if we pass a moratorium on recreational in June, then presenting a medical facility to us in May will not affect the moratorium on recreational. Two separate paths they'll have to follow until the state writes a law down the road.
And that's all the
Yet
moratorium
it's the
is
state
for.
it's the state that recommended we do our moratorium. And so they'll allow it to carry till you get to the end of 2018, and then they're gonna ask you to start allowing companies to do stuff.
Right.
So I believe, yes, everything was put in place so we could be protected and allow a medical facility to come in, but recreational will still have to wait till the end of December 2018, if that's what the town votes on.
Great, that's what I came to find out.
That's my understanding, is it would still apply, because right now it's two separate paths. If I'm wrong, Jim, please
So,
speak up,
yeah,
but
Jim.
I can only say this, if things operate the way they normally operate, and I'm using that quite frankly, because I don't think you're seeing things operate the way they normally operate with what the state's doing.
Understood
Normally,
there.
the fact that the planning board has posted and published in the paper notice of their hearing for the moratorium, that date would be the date
Oh.
that would lock out someone
Oh.
trying to get in around it.
That's a very
It's
good,
not the, it's
that's a
not the
very
hearing
good answer,
itself
thank you.
or the town meeting vote, it's the hearing date for the planning board's hearing.
Okay,
However,
that's tomorrow.
with all the shenanigans that are going on down in that town with a B at the beginning, I can't guarantee what they're gonna do. I've seen some very interesting things in the last couple of years come out of the people we pay a lot of money to and spend a lot of time voting for. One day, gambling is bad, the next day, gambling is good, because we're gonna make money on it.
Yeah.
One day, this thing's bad, the next day it's good, because we're gonna make money on it.
Okay. Paul, you had a comment?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay.
You had another question?
Okay, so,
In terms of the taxes for the state, I think it would be an interesting question to research or follow is what a percentage of what they're gonna tax comes back to the host communities. And if it hasn't been suggested, let's suggest it.
That's a good idea. Don't know if that would be the case, but that would be a good idea.
Yeah, and also I have materials from, I had talked to the town administrator earlier today, and I had gone to Worcester and spoken with people in the law department there. I have copies of their community contracts with facilities, and also an ordinance that's in its latest draft. Sir, Mr. Cranston, the question list that you said came from another document. I do have that document, if it's helpful for you, I'm happy to give a copy of this to you. This is, I'm sorry?
No, thank you.
Okay, but if you, this was the foundation for the creation of most of those.
okay. My yeah, then Clara, let me, the way I have looked at this is, the way we've done other projects in the past, and what we're being asked is to provide a letter of non-opposition, which is kind of a strange sort of nomenclature in its own right, but we'll leave that for the rhetorical people in Jamaica Plain. But it's pretty narrowly defined, as I see it, as to what we're being asked to do here. And there are no CMRs or anything yet on the recreational marijuana. So I have thought this right along, that, and I have given this quite a bit of research on my own and thought and spoken with people and so on, but it seems pretty narrow what we're being asked to do. And if not for a recreational marijuana thing, I think Attorney Baird said we've started through, and but I can see if they have to have that, then they're gonna have to come back, because if contingent upon what we're voting, it's for the medical marijuana, and that's it. And you can't vote on, you can't put something out, you know, we have one issue on the table here, and we can't really be saying, well, if they come with this a year from now or 18 months from now, well, we don't have that at this point. We're both being asked, we're not being asked to vote on something that may happen or may not happen. It's pretty narrow what we're being asked about here. So I don't think we're creating a precedent for recreational if we provide the letter of non-opposition and just state that it's contingent upon that it medical marijuana, make it very clear, and I think we're probably covered.
If I could.
What?
If I could talk again a minute.
Yep.
I think that, considering we see other towns putting 160,000 square foot facilities, if we're gonna dip our toe in the water, so to say, I think a 10,000 square foot is a small start compared to what other places are getting hit with. I think Dean's put together a very conscientious plan for the town. Any of the things that we've done, I've done a lot of reading on it. The concerns for safety, public and health and employee have been, already addressed by him in advance. So he's obviously put a lot of thought into the whole process. This isn't getting pushed through, I don't think, quickly on their side. In my impression of medical marijuana, I think if somebody wants to see a doctor of their choice and have an anxiety or some chronic pain, I think anybody could probably get a prescription for medical marijuana. So when we talk about recreational versus medical, I don't think it's too difficult for someone to obtain the marijuana if they want to, whatever the facility comes from. But at least for now, to have the insurance and willing to put it in the partnership agreement, they will not pursue the recreational. And as Mr. Cranston's indicated, and Attorney Beard's confirmed, that's an enforceable agreement when we have it. That's the best I think we can hope for right now. The moratorium, I would hope, does give us some say in the future to make our regulations before it gets here. We just don't know what the state will do. You can't. But the intention obviously was that, to make sure we could have rules in place. And I'm as comfortable and confident as I can be. I've never been a person for marijuana in my life, but I've never judged anyone else's their freedom to choose. And the town seems to me very, very much in favor of it. And given these questions, I certainly have no opposition at this point.
Okay. Dick?
I was here
I'm
at the
sorry,
meeting
Claire.
a month ago when Dean was here, and I believe he answered every question that was presented to him satisfactorily. I believe when I left the meeting, that the two attorneys were gonna communicate back and forth, come up with the covenants that were required to sign this letter that he asked for. 2 weeks ago, I came fully expecting that all the documents would be serviced, all the questions answered, and you would move and sign the letter. And then last month meeting, you opened it up to comments, but they had to be in by Friday so that you could review the comments, pass them on to the attorney, come up with some answers, and I come tonight fully expecting that this letter is gonna be signed. And what do I hear? We have to do more research. Can we be assured that at our next meeting, the two attorneys will go through what they need to go through and present something so they can make a decision?
Okay.
I think.
Claire?
It's my understanding that the state can go through with their laws, but then the town can write their own bylaws. Is that correct, Jim?
With limitations.
You know what I mean? There can be state laws out there, but the town can have their own bylaws that would override the state?
No.
No?
Fill in where the state didn't define, but not override or conflict
We
with.
can't supersede the
We
state
might be
law.
able to fill in uncovered areas, but I don't think we can do anything
You
contrary.
can't do contrary, but you could set
Everybody wants to
certain
do
limits of
contrary.
your own, yes, in the town, within the town.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't, the one thing on the recreational, it's not really, I'm not gonna judge what some of the other towns are doing. I don't know how they're moving forward on something that's not adopted, but I'll leave that for them. I'm not gonna pass judgment on our neighbors, but I don't know how they're doing this, because what are they basing it on? So,
Tax revenue.
what?
Tax revenue.
Well, they may be basing it on, but they don't
I'm
even know
just
how
saying
much
that's-
revenue they can tax, so it's just kind of a crazy situation. Matt?
I don't really have anything else to add to the discussion, other than my quote-unquote closing statement on this issue is, my preference is you offer the 25,000 for elder care services or similar. What I would ask is 30,000, but 5,000 go towards the police department to either use with a K-9 division or a school outreach officer to help with that educational, just to help put it out there. Just as something to put into either the host community agreement line item, just something like that. Second, anything that goes into recreational, I would just like to have a clause in the host community agreement that says, assuming you go to recreational, we're gonna revisit the host community agreement. So rather than imagining numbers and values now, we're gonna have to come back to the table to determine if there's something worth negotiating or not. But that's dependent on whether he chooses to move forward with recreational at the time it's allowed. But rather than guessing now and both sides either underestimating or overestimating a certain value, and either destroying a business because we overestimated and you finally agreed and then we burned you out, or vice versa. I'd rather just, let's visit it, like Charlie said, when the regulations are in place and we really know what's going on. And medically, I believe, other than property tax, we've already got, it seems like we're gonna cover the cost that's gonna affect the town. So that's just, that would be my recommendation to include in the host community agreement. And then the covenant would really just affect the on-site dispensary. Everything else seems to be more host community agreement stuff. That's all I got to ask, and if it comes back and you guys come up with things, I'm sure I can sit there and read that and feel pretty comfortable if that's where that lands.
Okay, Claire?
We don't need a K-9 unit.
I am not
We
gonna
have
choose for the
them
police
from other-
department, but I know
No,
it's a common thing that,
Matt, there are K-9 units, the sheriff's department has them, the state police have them, other towns have them. We have used them before in town. There is no reason to spend money when it's available to you.
I am
Perhaps-
Well,
not
anyway.
debating
Perhaps
that
we want
item.
them
I'm
to
just
be able-
stating
Anyway, I don't think
5,000
we-
for the police department
Yeah.
and recommending a couple uses.
But what
Yeah.
I'm saying
The first is
still
the outreach
waste
to
money
teachers.
on
I don't think we need to go down that road. I think
I hear you, Claire. And
we may need some town meeting work just to clarify how money can be taken in and dispensed and comes into a fund like that. I'd just like to say I was pretty comfortable with the way it was drafted and, you know, the agreements that we were gonna have on transfer of the license. I was pretty well ready to go a few weeks ago, but, just given the size of the thing, but, you know, I don't know what the board would like to do. We've got a lot of things on the table, particularly
Yeah,
with,
last question that Sue has maybe. And then we'll
yep,
move on.
Sue?
Yes, there was one question that I did not hear an answer to, which I did hear about from other people that I spoke to. like I said, I drove to Worcester and spent some time there, and also the reporter who was in charge of this topic for the newspaper, the Worcester newspaper, also, he and I had a lengthy conversation as well. So the question that's unanswered is, the question is the size of the canopy. The square feet is the footprint of the building. The canopy is the top level of of trees or plants. And a question that I have is will this be a facility? Is there a limit to how high an industrial building can be? And the second part of that question is that in a lot of these facilities, what they do is they have multi-tiers of plants that are rotating within
Okay.
the building.
They
So-
did answer.
I believe it was
7,500 square
7,500
feet of
square
canopy.
foot was the canopy.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
And
So-
500 plus pounds of.
I didn't
of-
read all the details, so of the 10,000 square foot facility, 7,500 square feet is identified as
So
canopy.
He's only gonna do it on one level?
He didn't explain how. He may do multiple tiers and then split the building down the middle for processing versus cultivation.
But they did project a
Because
volume.
if you have 10 levels going, that 10,000 feet expands to 100,000 feet, square feet.
Understood,
But it's
right.
10,000 square feet, though.
That's the footprint of the building, but if you have tiers of canopy, if you had 10 tiers of canopy, each at 10,000, that would be 100,000.
Right, but a 10,000 square foot building is a 10,000 square foot building. It's not 10,000 square feet of foundation, it was 10,000 square feet of building, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Paul?
In the,
I don't know how you put 10 tiers.
When you get around to the next level, of the next round of negotiations later on,
It's just a clarifying question.
the,
I think
I
her
think
question,
it-
if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
quantity of the product.
In a greenhouse, you have your, whatever, it's either on the ground or on a table. And I think what she's suggesting is you could go 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot above that and have another rack.
Yep,
Correct.
You could go another 2, 3 feet and have another rack.
Right.
And I think what she's asking is, are they having multiple racks adding up to X times, not the 10,000, because you wouldn't be able to push them all the way out to the outside.
It's like a 10,000 square foot Home Depot is still just 10,000 square feet, but it just happens to be a
Right.
120 foot high ceiling where they put in their racks.
Right.
So that's the question of, is it racks versus floors and therefore increased square footage, or is it just, how are you, and so the answer came back at 7,500.
Right.
So it sounds like they're focusing on a one level concept or close enough.
Okay.
Just finish up a little bit.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I submitted host community contracts between the city of Worcester and the 4 facilities that are
You-
currently there.
You submitted it to our office?
I did, I submitted them, so he has 4 contracts, copies of 4 contracts to the 4 facilities in Worcester. Plus, he has an ordinance from the Board of Health from the city of Worcester. So he has those writings. There's a lot of material in there that I would beg the 3 selectmen to read before you come to a final decision. Because they put a lot of time and lawyer hours into it, and we can't afford the amount of lawyer hours that they have.
Is a medical recreational facility contract.
This is.
They're not allowed to give a recreational yet.
Right, but anyway, if you just look at those contracts, I think some of the unanswered questions for me, that you might find them worthy of a little further, and also, the point of my research was, the more that everybody can know ahead of time, I'm not trying to crash this deal, not one bit. I want what's best for our industry and what's best for our town. And if we get all the issues on the table up front, there's not gonna be some fights going on later on, because like you said, he's putting a lot of money into this, and we don't wanna jump in on something. But also, we don't wanna feel like we got hooked because he had information and it wasn't disclosed. So by using other people's research and contracts, it gives us questions to raise that we didn't know to raise, and maybe they weren't as fully, you know, voiced.
Okay.
Maybe we apply.
Okay, I had a question way in the back, and then I'll do Sam, okay?
I just ask that you guys, when you read those contracts, keep in mind that those probably have retail agreements attached to them. And that's something that this town had asked CPC to rule out completely, and they comply with that. So I just ask that these projects aren't here forever, and as the town continues to talk and talk, we can talk a subject to death. You can research it to death. You can ask the same question 30 different ways and get 30 different answers.
Mm-hmm.
Medical marijuana is not taxed in the state, period. And I just ask that the board not risk the opportunity to draw a little bit of business and additional tax revenue into the town that's not on the taxpayers, the residential taxpayers, and just get it signed. And it's just a letter of non-opposition. It's not approval, it's not licensing, it's just a letter of non-opposition.
Right. We are not permitting the project at this point. We're signing a letter of non-opposition. There is a difference. And there are height requirements already in our zoning bylaws on buildings. And if I'm not mistaken, the only automatic exemption to that height bylaw is silos on farms. They can go up quite high. And that is the only, is a true agricultural building which they consider. So, Paul?
I just want to be clear that this community host agreement or gift agreement, or what you want to call it, will not be anything like the city of Worcester agreement. If that's what you guys are looking for, that's not what we're going to do. I'm looking at one from Amesbury, it's 3 pages long. I'm looking at one from Webster, it's 3 pages long. We're going to keep this, from my perspective, short and concise. And what we talked about, we want to be adding
Okay.
all sorts of stuff that we don't need.
Okay. Yeah, Kathy?
John, can you sign the host agreement tonight? And then meanwhile, the letter of non-opposition tonight? And meanwhile, let them do the host agreement or whatever?
Yeah.
So you can sign that letter tonight?
We could do that tonight. We probably wouldn't be doing the host agreement probably
I'm
is
in
quite a
the
way
office.
down the road. You don't think so, Paul?
We'll be back in 2 weeks, looking for
Okay.
you to sign the host agreement. It's a
Okay.
simple document.
And 2 weeks won't make a difference either way if we sign it in 2 weeks. It'll be done.
Their
No,
motion.
I know their motion, but
Okay.
you don't need the host agreement.
Oh, heck no.
To
No.
go forward with the
There's-
state.
you don't
I think
have to
that's
have a
what- I
host
think that's what
agreement.
Kathy was
No,
trying to say.
I meant the non-opposition letter, they can sign
No.
that tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what Kathy's point was, they don't need the host
Right.
agreement necessarily for the state to move forward.
Correct.
Okay. However, they seem to have expressed the desire to do it as a package. Can
And I
make a
see no reason
suggestion?
why we can't do it in 2 weeks and be done and sign everything and walk away and say, thank you for your business, let me know when you're coming before the planning board to build a building.
Can I make
Yeah, Jim?
a suggestion? I don't know if the three of you have put down your individually considered points and concerns at this point. If you haven't, could you do that and give them to Phil, and Phil filter them to me, and I can discuss them with Paul, and we could have a meeting between now and 2 weeks, which would just focus on that and whatever Paul and I have put together as to whether or not it satisfied all three of your concerns. Is that a fair proposal?
Sure.
Can we do a timeline backwards from 2 weeks from now, so I know when you need that information from us?
I
So
would
you
like-
can
I
draft
would like
something so we
your-
can meet and then
I would
so we're
like
not
your-
dragging it out.
I would like the board, the three members of the board's input to Phil, like this week.
Well,
Like
yeah,
tomorrow.
but this, I was hoping Phil could get me what was provided to him so I could look at it real quick, that's all. So I can then give you,
Oh, what?
so I need like at least 24 hours just to do that.
Are you talking about?
I'm not gonna spend, so like in 2 days, I could give Phil anything I have any thoughts on, be done with it. I pretty much already stated it. I'm not expecting anything new, but I don't think I'm doing my due diligence if I don't at least read it through and see what's,
Are you talking about what Susan gave him?
yeah.
Okay.
Does Phil,
It's,
did Phil have
it's
all
attached
that
to
that
an
she's
email.
talking about?
And I can do a summary of anything that's not there and forward it to him, and you can do it, you can look it up if you want, but at least I'm.
But then I can go through it real quick and I'll throw any questions I got right back within 24 hours of receiving that. That's just me, because that's,
No, I know, I'm just trying to picture,
I don't know about these guys, I don't want to speak for anyone else at the table.
because it sounds like you got some stuff that you haven't gotten yet.
Well, I just got some information today. I haven't had
Okay.
a chance to look at it.
I bet.
Quite frankly, I haven't even had a chance to process the answers to the questions that were given.
Okay.
I
So you got a bunch of stuff,
Right.
and it could be organized maybe for the 3 selectmen in a way that they could review it, and how soon could that be done?
Did you send that via email?
You just
Sue?
need to forward
I
it.
did. I
And I'll-
Could you,
I
could you,
forwarded that.
could you forward her email? That would be the simplest thing to do.
Right.
And then we'd have it and we could review
So
it.
you forwarded something to me, is that right?
Correct,
Sue?
and you opened it on your computer? or
Okay,
something?
okay, I can send that to the
Yeah.
selectmen?
What's that?
Is there
You could,
anything-
you could send it
is
to
there-
us
is there anything
yourselves if you
else
want
that
to
they should be
direct it.
getting?
Our email addresses are out there.
Is there anything else coming? I think that's the question.
No, I think I've done.
Yeah.
as
Just
much
bear in
damage-
mind, we did ask for anything for us to review prior to Friday, so I don't mind reading it either, just to see if there's nothing strange in there, but
Okay.
I'm really trying to, respect the attorney's time and Dean's time and everyone's time. We did set Friday as a deadline so we could try to process these,
I totally
which,
understand
believe me,
that.
he wrote them all up, it's
Yeah.
pretty lengthy.
Yeah. So
Um,
I've submitted those contacts from Worcester not as questions, but here's some information that you might find
Okay,
helpful.
fair enough, but I'm just saying it's,
But they're not questions.
unless there's something really crazy in there, it's not likely to change, I don't think anything for us. From just information for our bucket's great.
Can I ask you, how
But,
many pages long is it?
About 10, I think it's not.
That's not too bad.
No, that won't take too long.
Paul, did you have another comment, or?
Well, if you discount the 4 pages of preamble,
Right there.
I'm just-
7 pages of signatures.
Oh, anyway.
My comment was, I guess I just want to have a time frame because I'm going to start to work on the community host agreement anyway. I know 80%
I
of
think you know
what's
what's
going to
in
be in it anyway, maybe 90. So I can work on that, and then when,
I can tell you right now, I'll look to cover what we talked about with the processing, that they're using CO2 recovery system, and that the safeties as far as environment for workers for CO2 levels in the building. The things that Dean covered to me, if you don't have that email, you could ask him to send it back to you. But those were my only concerns outside of what was discussed from Matt, was for the health and safety of the structure and the people.
all right, well, I guess I would just say Jim and I would expect to have drafts by the end of the week. So you can review them and then look at them.
Okay.
can we have any comments we have to Phil and Jim, et cetera, by Wednesday?
Right.
Yeah, we have meetings scheduled with the finance committee that we have to post this week and next week. So,
Do you need me to re-express mine in writing, or are you good with what I told you? Because that's all I'm after, is what I had, that's the
No,
only thing.
I'll send an
You'll
email
have
to
an
summarize my
opportunity to
thoughts on
read.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
You'll have
that's-
an opportunity to read what I put in there, and if you want to tweak it.
That's all I'm gonna put forward, is those are my issues, because to make sure they're not gonna switch to butane, and that we are recovering the gases, and that we're not gonna asphyxiate anyone while they're working. Simple concerns.
Do we want a meeting before the 2 weeks from today?
We have we'll
if
have
it's
a
ready,
meeting.
it can go on, we got Wednesday
We have
night.
the
two
next
Wednesdays.
2 Wednesdays are finance, so we could stack on that. We
What
could
do we
meet at
got next
6:30.
Monday? DPW commission?
Yeah,
that
we
next
got
Monday?
Yeah, that
DPW,
too.
we could do too.
Email
We've
a
got
draft,
three-
we can review them
three
ourselves and then summarily send individual emails to Phil with any comments. I don't need to copy you on my comments.
We'll be
He
meeting
can
Wednesday,
summarize
Monday,
them
and
and then
Wednesday,
send them to
already
Jim
we're
and.
saying, so we have 3 more
You probably
meetings coming up.
shouldn't send your comments back and forth
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
No, I would send my
Yeah, like not
comments
even
to the
reply all
town
with your
administrator's
comments.
office.
Right.
Yep, like no reply all with comments.
No, replies go back to Fay and or attorney, not to each other, please. And then that can get revised that
All
way.
right, so did
2
we
weeks
set
could be the
timeline
15th.
Wednesday for these guys?
Correct.
And then you'll be back at the end of the week for everything else?
Okay.
Possibly.
Wednesday for us, but
End of the week for
when
them.
to him?
What, end of the week for you?
Meaning Thursday?
Yeah. It shouldn't
No,
take
I'm
any-
saying Wednesday it should come right to you,
From,
right? From Phil?
yes.
But I'm saying you should have a draft by the end of the week to come
Well,
back,
Thursday.
is what I'm
Correct.
asking,
Yes,
okay?
by Friday.
Because that'll give us.
Assuming he gets his comments on Wednesday from us.
Sure, and if we could touch base maybe Monday, say, if you wanna look at, posting that for Wednesday.
We could discuss it, yeah, we could
You're gonna
discuss
be
it.
posted for a meeting Wednesday?
Post.
I can post for 6:30.
Mhm.
You guys can meet at 6:30 and then finance at 7.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
We have enough meetings
So we
coming up.
can
that
come
we
in
can always
Monday with the
discuss
final
it.
draft
Yeah,
decided.
we
We
That's
can
the intent.
piggyback it, yeah.
We can,
Yep.
we can take care of it as we go.
Monday would be the host draft back, host committee draft?
I will have
And the
something-
covenant, both.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to get back to me on the covenant. I will get you a draft of the host agreement.
So
I'd
which
like to
days?
express my appreciation for the selectmen and how you follow through.
Yeah, I think we need to wait about Thursday, Friday. thing.
Trying.
It's really my,
Yeah.
I don't do anything till Monday.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good?
I'd similarly like to express my appreciation for a couple of people that have put a lot of time in
Mm-hmm.
providing this information to
I
help
think,
us make an evaluated, so.
As well as Dean's responses, they were very thorough. A lot of those were redundant, he didn't strike them, he just answered them again.
I think there've been a lot of very reasonable points brought up all the way around.
Right, I don't think there's any unreasonable concerns here.
Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break before we move on. Okay? Okay.
Yeah, you can have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Appreciate the
Thanks,
time.
Paul. No, I just printed it.
To resume, poor
Did I
choice.
make a
of
motion to resume, or?
Well, I don't think you
Take a
need
I
to.
don't,
I
I
think,
don't think, I don't think we had the motion.
I don't
today,
think,
so-
yeah, we didn't have, a no, I
We just, I know.
do that at the discretion of the chairman.
Yeah, we, so we don't need.
About
motion,
the
we
only
just sort
expert.
of- All right, let's get it.
All right, let's get back. We have the approved amended classification plan that I think it was asked to be put on the agenda.
No, this is to update the assessors.
Right.
You guys approved the job descriptions. I amended the classification plan. The highlight shows the amendment. It was
I
just a
didn't
title
realize we were
change.
changing the classification for that position.
You didn't. It's a name change. Before it said assistant assessor. And now the title's administrative assessor, so it was just a name change.
Okay, so it's just the title on the A2 line. Okay.
Correct. I just,
Same old, you give them more money, you give them a better title.
same money, different title.
I know, it's one or the other, it's like it's title or money.
I make a motion to approve changing the assistant assessor to administrative assessor.
We did
No,
that.
No, you're.
We're just approving
You're
that.
updating the classification plan.
I didn't finish my motion.
Oh.
What was the change?
Well, you've already
Assistant
voted that.
assessor to administrative assessor on the classification plan.
Yep.
I'm clarifying the change to the classification plan. That's my motion. To change from assistant assessor title to administrative assessor.
All right, I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion. Hearing none, call for a vote.
Aye.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Is that all you need to do?
That was it, it's just changing from assistant to administrator.
Sam, did you have anything you wanted to bring up for tonight, or?
No, thanks.
Okay. Okay, we'll move into new business. Request for the town property.
Yeah, I have one in front of us. It's from the library. They're looking to use the town North Common for sidewalk and touch a truck with the DPW.
Okay.
When are they looking?
Sorry, July 22nd.
I assume that doesn't conflict with anything else in town?
It's
scheduled?
on North Common, so.
It's not actually on the con, is it?
Yeah, they walk around the common and they
Around
set
it.
up book stations
Yeah.
around the outside.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know where they're talking.
Right, isn't that what it's, the walk? It's like a story walk and.
Story walk, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
okay.
I guess they're incorporating the DPW into this year.
Make a motion to accept.
Okay, discussion?
Se-
Second?
Second, it, yeah.
Sorry. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the discussion, bids to go out?
I asked to have that on, because
Yep.
I was reading through Heather's parting note to the, everybody involved here, and she commented on 3 things that were coming out, that we had to look for the, I don't know the exact timings of them, but I just want to get up to speed on the fuel oil, our electric contract for the town, and, we just talked the other one,
Yep.
on
On-call engineering.
engineering,
Yep.
on-call engineering services.
So I looked up a few of those just for point of reference. The heating fuel ends June 30th of this year.
Okay.
Last year, that went out to bid August 3rd. Because we don't use heating fuel during the summer, so it's not really a
Do we
That-
contract that for 1 year?
1 year.
1 year, yeah, we normally,
Well, if it went out in August, it's less
we
than a
all
year.
normally award about October 1st or so, isn't it? Around
We
there?
awarded somewhere in like September
Yeah,
last
somewhere,
year, September
yeah.
6th, I think was the date. And it goes back to July 1st it starts.
So we don't need to panic about that one quite yet.
No. The only other one I saw, the roads material bids will go out, those expire June 30th. And I believe DPW puts that together, I think. Electricity, I looked that up, we contracted for supplier service with Constellation Energy. That will expire November 13th, 2018.
Now, how much leeway do we need on that one?
Well, here's the thing about the electricity. I remember when we went out to bid for this, which was 3 years ago now. I believe it will be 3 years that we did a contract. We went out sometime in the summer because that's when the rates seem to be the best. and we can't go out too early because we're still in a contract, so, I think, I mean, it's up to you guys when you decide you want to go to bid. You're gonna be in transition around, you know, with new town administrator Phil, so you're gonna have to decide at some point, almost like a cutoff. Like, at what point do you stop? You know, you don't wanna start something and have somebody in the middle of these type things. The other one, the on-site engineering, like you said, is June 30th. That went out to bid in April, 3 years ago when it did go out to bid.
So we're already behind if we put that out to bid again. So that's when we ought to pay attention to, is the on-site engineering, on-call engineering.
On call.
It's the design and selection board process? Do
Who?
do
Do
we
we have
use a
time
design and
for that?
selection board when choosing that?
I don't believe so, it goes out to bid. So I don't believe a designer selection is used, that is used for, the DPW uses the on-call engineering, so if they have, permits, their
They're
NPDS
looking
permits
at
and stuff like that, they use the on-call engineering to do these type things.
We have a DPW meeting Monday, we said?
Mm-hmm.
Can we go Monday and discuss with Jason, make sure that the current contract covers what he wants, and perhaps put that same contract out to bid soon?
I think, if, I could be wrong, but I think what you just said is exactly what we did with the last contract as well. The contract.
Make sure it works for him first.
It worked, so we went into like similar type agreement.
Isn't the bulk of the services they provide for the sewage treatment plant?
Yeah, I think its bulk is with the sewer, but.
All right, so we should check with them.
Yeah, and all this procurement goes out through the town administrator. I know, I kind of explained that to you, but typically that's how that works.
Yeah.
Because the, Heather, the prior town administrator, was the procurement officer, and she was a certified procurement officer. So it all went through that person.
Okay. We need to get that going. So we can check
Mm-hmm.
Monday and possibly talk to
Yep.
Tom at the sewer.
Yeah, and I don't think that has an extension, like it's I don't think it's an extendable contract. Some of the contracts you can enter into 3 years, and then it will allow for up to 2 one-year extensions. I don't believe that contract when I read through it quickly.
Phil,
I don't know,
how-
Phil, if you read through it quickly?
I haven't.
Okay.
How long do we need to advertise that for?
I would say it's probably a month, right, Phil?
Yep.
Expires June 30th right now?
I believe so. I
Most
looked for
of
the
our-
file
yeah.
quick earlier, and I think I gave it to Phil, so I didn't have it.
So we need to get this out in a week or two, if not even 30 days.
Yeah.
Most of our contracts can only go out by law 3 years.
I know, but we need to.
You're saying
it's-
get
it's
it
done-
rolling.
It's done in 60 days.
So
Yeah.
my,
And if we've got to advertise it for 30 days, we've got.
my suggestion is bring it up at the DPW meeting
Mhm.
and solicit some comments from Jason if there was changes from the prior contract, to have him have comments in by a certain time, so that it would allow for Phil, if that's is how you wanna
Right.
roll.
And then I assume from that point, Phil takes it forward and brings
Mhm.
us the contract forward, or will we have him sign the contract?
No, it would go out to bid, and then, we would be able to present the bids, what comes in to you guys.
Yeah, we
And then
will.
go,
Still goes
like
Yeah,
we
we'll
did with the
award a
fire
bid.
truck tonight,
Okay,
same
Yeah.
idea.
just making sure.
It
That's
actually
all
goes
done.
pretty fast. You know,
Alright.
once
And the
you get-
timing may not be 30 days, I may be incorrect by saying that, it may be a 2-week.
All right, but
I
we-
don't really know
We
off
can
the top
address
of
it
my
Monday
head.
anyways with
Yep.
Jason. Can one of you give Jason a call to ask him to be prepared for that, so we don't blindside him, Phil?
All right,
And perhaps call the Tom George as well for the sewer,
okay.
and see if he has any input before we move forward with the contract offer. Just really confirming that the current contract works for him, if there's any amendments they want to it before we send it.
Okay, so would you want those comments Monday?
Yes. For Monday,
Okay.
for the sewer.
I would, if possible, like to get a copy of the existing contract prior to Monday,
Mm-hmm.
so I can review it going into the meeting, so if I have any questions myself, I can
Yep.
ask them at the meeting.
I think they're pretty limited, I'd like 3 or 4 of them. Do you want to look at a paper copy, or, I'm not sure it's,
If you can scan it, send it to me, it'd be easier, but I'll take
I
either.
think Phil has the, I think I
Just
gave
let me
you
know
the
when it's
file for us to
available.
keep, I gave it to Phil to keep like in his view, that it's upcoming, so I can grab that and see what it looks
Yeah,
like.
if you
And
shoot
you're
it
gonna
out
come in this week to
to
sign
us.
something anyways, we can have it on hand. You have to sign something from earlier. Oh, the bid, the fire truck.
We're gonna sign that
Yeah.
now, aren't we?
So, and you're gonna be here Wednesday, so.
waiting.
we
Yeah,
can
I'm gonna
have
be
that-
here a lot.
We can have
right?
that file accessible,
So, yeah,
okay?
thank you.
So I'll stick that file,
Mhm.
where you guys' mails
A
are.
file or just make a copy for me? Because I
It's-
wanna walk away with it.
It's a big file, so you can, if you don't mind telling me what you want out of it.
I want this contract.
How many pages is the contract?
It's a big contract.
Yeah, so that's what I want.
40 pages, 50 pages?
Okay,
That's all. Or you could scan it if you don't wanna spend the paper.
I don't know if it's duplex, I don't have a duplex scanner,
Okay.
so I'm not sure if it's duplex. I'll have to pull it out, like I said, it was in
I
Phil's
got you.
office tonight when I was preparing for tonight,
Okay.
so I wasn't able to look through it, but I do know it's a big file.
I got you, it's just, I don't have the time to sit in the office and review it, so
And
I
I'm
would like
not-
to have a copy to bring with me and review at home.
Okay,
That's all I am asking.
I don't know if there's a bound document in there too, though. You know, like they gave us a bound,
That might have been their bid saying this is who we are.
could have been, I'm not sure.
Now, what was the date while I'm thinking of it? Sorry to the board, apologize. The Eagle Scout, do you remember?
May 20, must be
That just-
21st, because it was
just
a
came in.
Sunday.
What?
A Sunday, it was May 21st.
That just
They-
came in.
They haven't seen that yet.
What are you
Yeah,
talking
you
about?
haven't heard that, it just came.
You guys got an invitation to an Eagle Scout, that's make, a Boy Scout.
Oh, presentation to become Eagle Scout
Yeah,
thing? Okay.
yep.
Yep.
You'll have a copy of that. It'll be on my desk because we only received one, so it won't be in your individual folders.
Yeah, that customary practice for all stuff. We always get gold award ceremonies and everything like that.
All right, so did you have any other questions about these bid documents?
That was the only three that
The
I'd
heating
seen
fuel
up.
bid is easy. That's very easy.
And as you said, there's no,
There's a question, do you want to participate in the CMRPC joint fuel?
Yeah, that's the next topic.
That's the next one coming up.
Do we have any information on that?
They're just soliciting interest right now.
well, it sounds like, although the contract expires, as we said now, we don't need the fuel till October, so
Correct.
we're not gonna move on it before that anyway, so.
Yeah, and there's
I
a
don't
regional,
see-
we got, Phil's talking about, it's on the agenda too, a letter from CMRPC to see if we would be interested in like a cooperative fuel
Right.
purchase. And I had told Phil, I thought in the past we had looked into this, and for some reason, either we opted out or it wasn't, I'm not
What-
sure.
What were the drawbacks to it? that we-
I don't recall, I'd
The
have to look
drawback
it
was there
up.
was problems with delivery as I,
That was not part of the cooperative, I don't think.
okay,
I think that
That
was a
was
bid
part of
that
the
we
dealer-
awarded and
okay, yeah.
the contractor basically failed us, and we had, this building ran out of heating oil and heat shut off, because there was no heating oil, and so did the library, and I believe the town hall. So we had, we had a problem where we became the babysitter of our heating fuel, and we actually had to end up calling RJ McDonald's for an emergency delivery on a couple of occasions, because we would have had buildings freeze up.
Those are always cheap.
Very cheap.
Yeah,
Do you know if we are
That didn't-
familiar at all with that contract, to know if we had any clauses that cover those potential issues? Or did we revise it since to cover ourselves in case a contractor fails and causes property damage?
I'm not sure if the contract was amended to that. I don't recall.
I would ask you to look
But I know
into
we
that before we
terminated-
post it again.
We
That's all.
terminated that contract and
mhm.
entered into, we put it back out to bid. And it actually beneficially, it came better to us because the oil prices had dropped in those 6 months later.
Yeah.
So it all worked out, I guess, at the end. So the CMRPC Fuel Cooperative, what's your pleasure on this?
Where is this take place?
It's with CMRPC. They're just
Central
looking right
Mass
now to
Regional
see if you're
Planning.
interested in the cooperative. I can look back and see why we did not enter into it if you want, what the reasoning was at the time.
I mean,
I don't think it hurts.
personally, I don't know if we need to. I'm not against it, but unless they're willing to tell me why it's to our benefit, other than having us fill out a survey for them to tell us if it's to our benefit.
It could be pricing, because if you have bulk purchasing, it could be pricing.
It could be.
It could be, but
But you don't know the region they're gonna create,
I have a
so
feeling
the
that
company could be coming out of West Boylston.
I have a feeling the concern at the time was the service end of it.
I can tell you, I went to a cooperative for my fuel oil. I'd originally been with a local, and I just didn't like the service from this regional provider, which was I guess out of Worcester, company out of Worcester, and I finally switched back to where I was before. And I still like the local service anyway, so it's nice to support a local business. But that's,
Yep.
you know.
That would be my, I think, generally where I would stand. I would probably prefer
it would
to
have to
stick
be a
to our
pretty
own
substantial
bidding
savings.
It'd have to
process.
be
I just can't,
unbelievable.
I can't believe there's that much savings in the oil.
Well,
We're in a good volume anyways.
Did they require you to?
I mean, we can
prepay?
find, well, no, we can find out
That
if
would've
we
been holding
can,
back.
go into the cooperative with a clause to exit if we don't feel that the pricing they come in at is comparable to something we put out to bid ourselves.
There's just a lot of data collection. You gotta, find out where the oil tanks are, how much capacity is, how much
Yeah, and I
they
think
spend
we
on
have all
capacity.
that now
It's not
from
an
when
easy
we
Yeah.
thing to
switched,
take out
but,
the numbers.
Yeah.
It just takes,
Well,
yeah.
it takes some effort.
my opinion, we, not just because we've been doing it, but the system that we have in place has been done this way for years, and other than that one with the guy, the contractor from Worcester, but we get good service, they come when there's problems, we have a rash of snowstorms and stuff, we have the ability to draw fuel when it's needed.
Right, no, I have to
Those
wait
are
for a
all-
shipment to come. in a
Those are all
snowstorm from-
important things, and we've always had it taken care of, and, I'm not sure we're gonna save that much money, and I got a feeling it's gonna be rather bureaucratic.
It might be, I don't think there's any harm to get the price since we have till really
No.
October,
Right.
see what the numbers are. I didn't
Yeah,
wanna
we can
sit-
ask Trish if we can
Yeah, I
enter
wouldn't
into
wanna- I
this,
wouldn't wanna commit to
whatever
it,
they're
but-
looking for, and then if we so choose to walk away, we can.
If they need us to commit without knowing, then the answer's gonna be
Okay.
flatly no for me.
So I'll just,
but-
I guess we can get more information on it and then come back to you in next meeting?
We could.
It doesn't have to be that soon even, but.
My thought is we just gotta be careful. I wouldn't wanna spend too much time just finding out if we wanna spend the time. If we've already got a procurement process that works and we don't feel like we were making bad money on what we. We got a lot on our plates. I don't know if trying to find out how much time we need to spend to give CMRPC more information so they can fill it. I don't know how much effort it's worth asking these questions when I'm not so sure our current
When do they-
system isn't
when do they
working.
need
That's
an
all I
answer?
mean. I'm
Well,
just.
this is just asking us to participate in a survey, so I'll tell you what, I don't mind going on. I handle all the fuel for almost all the town buildings.
Mhm.
I'll go on and see what the survey entails. If it's a 40-minute survey, I'll just send an email out to you guys and let you know it's a very detailed survey.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah,
Fair
fine.
enough.
Okay.
I just, once again, to be judicious, we should look into it and just see.
Okay,
but-
so I'll look, this is
But I
asking
wouldn't
you-
commit to anything without knowing, and
This
it
is
would
just
have to be
asking
a
you to
heck of
take
a
the survey
save
this
to
time, so I'll
do it.
check the survey out, I'll send a follow-up email, if you guys wish to go further, we'll go.
You could find out we have a local guy in it distributing this year anyways, we don't know until we look.
Well, we don't know that, they're probably doing a bidding process, closed bid like we would.
Right.
So you probably wouldn't know until that point, but I'll check the survey out, that's what it's asking, and we'll go from there.
Fair enough.
And I hear you, Greg. I'm not trying to dismiss
Oh,
your
no,
comment.
I just,
Okay.
I know, we don't have to make a decision and get involved in it now, because we've got until October, but
Right.
if they want us to get too involved now, we don't. But let's talk about Christmas, huh, Charlie?
What?
Let's talk about Christmas.
We'll have to talk about Christmas, sure. Special event permit, then I almost skipped over that actually. But,
All right, so we have a special event permit from the Christmas in Barry. We've already approved the use of town hall. This is just part of the process.
Oh, I got you.
So no department sign off on this because it doesn't require any of those sign offs.
Does it?
They haven't in the past, Because the
I would think the
traffic,
police might.
well, the traffic is set up for not the Christmas in Barry at Town Hall. They're set up for like the parade that everybody participates in, so it's It's a
Mhm.
huge event. I mean, if you wanna require them to have everybody sign off, we can. They had not, required that in the past.
I don't.
I don't neither. The committee goes to an incredible amount of work to do this.
Yeah, they do a great
Just
job.
more,
I'm not denying that, I just don't wanna start saying, well, this group doesn't have to, but that group does, and we don't have any defined process that allows us to arbitrarily choose who gets to play the game and doesn't.
The
I'm-
committee's gonna meet with the police as far as the.
So
Yeah, cause there's
that's all.
road closures for the parade and everything else that goes on, so.
I'd rather let that go status quo unless we have a bump and then go back and address it with the police and all, but I would think.
What I mean is, we have a formal process people use to fill out a special permit. And why we would say one group doesn't have to follow the process and others do, they don't need the permit for 8 months. I think a couple committees saying not applicable that's all I meant. That's why I'm putting this out there.
Fair enough. but-
I'm
so-
not trying to be mean.
no,
I'm not gonna say no. I just,
So we're
That's all.
looking for the
You're not gonna say
applicable
no to
departments
Santa
it would
Claus.
affect, such as in this case, the police.
Well,
Just,
he's saying that all
and the police could
departments
just say,
sign off.
provide traffic
Yeah, I know what
plan
he's saying.
prior to the event. You know, and you guys work it out after the fact, that's all.
you're not saying no to Santa Claus, right?
No,
No, okay. I
Okay,
just
so-
wanna make that clear.
I'm just trying to be honest about where I'm coming
No,
from.
I'm just giving you a hard.
Okay,
He's trying to be uniform.
trying, but I'm not very good with it, but
I
I'm trying.
understand that too, but this is also an exception to those type of things. This isn't a business and organization doing something for themselves. This is,
Watch
more of a
out if you
community
ask the
event.
people at Carter Stevens that say we do the Spartan race every year, but I still gotta do it.
well,
I'm just
yeah,
saying,
but that-
that's
but
what I
but-
mean.
But that's for Carter Stevens. This
That's-
is a community
This is a
project.
town
Yeah.
event.
That's why I think we have
It's
the,
the town, it's not an individual.
Claire, I understand, but we're getting very subjective and it's gonna get us all in trouble.
well, I make a motion that we grant them this special event permit for Christmas.
You have that ability, I'm just
And
stating,
I just
and
made it.
Charlie can,
I will second it.
that's fine. And go right ahead.
Why don't one of you guys make a motion that Christmas would be allowed?
That,
I don't wanna get into that.
We're not
Yeah.
going there.
Well, it is Christmas in
This is
that
close
way, so-
enough.
this is close enough,
Okay.
and, yeah, that's a whole nother issue, because we got,
I have, a follow-up on their behalf, I'll ask.
We haven't finished this topic yet.
Yeah, you guys, would you like to vote on that first?
yep, we have the whole issue and the, yeah, I can see this. We'll leave the Christmas and the menorah and all that stuff. Why? Right? I'll call for a vote in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain,
Um,
on principle only.
So, as a follow-up to this on their behalf, this does require a special event fee. It's $100 with a $5 technology fee. I'll request on their behalf, to waive that fee.
I make a motion, we waive the fee for them as well.
Okay. Do I have a second? I'll second it. You're on.
He's not-
I'll second
Okay, I
it.
wasn't sure. Any comments or,
No.
no, hearing now.
I mean, I guess I got one comment.
Okay,
It's not a bad idea considering we fund them so much money for the event anyway, just to ask them to give us $100 back is kind of funny. So yes, I agree, let's waive the fee.
okay. Okay, in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Just wanted people to know why we waiving the fee, why write a check to receive a check.
So not to get off topic or anything, but I did have Tim Mara from the Lions Club in today.
Mhm.
I'm only bringing this up because I put in front of you to waive their fee. He's asking, the Lions Club is asking, sorry, if the board would waive the fee for their special event permit as well.
What is their special
With
event?
They do
the car
the car
show and the
show.
Car
common,
show.
we already approved all the events and stuff, right?
Everything's all set, but I sent them an email saying that they owed us the money.
They charging fees for their car show? Vendors?
I don't know that. They have no vendors that I'm aware of because they allow the businesses on the common
To
to
get
reap the benefits of the
it.
car show. I don't know
I
if
would
there's a
look at it
fee.
straightforward, obviously, the Christmas of the Common, this is absolutely not for profit for anything. and it's really for the whole community.
Well, there is fees collected from you guys, correct, for the vendors in the town hall?
The town hall, that's the only.
Yeah, so they,
We pay the events.
the entertainment.
The entertainment, we pay for that.
Yeah, so it's,
What does the car show receipts go for?
it goes to the Lions Club, and I think they provide eyeglassware.
Yeah, but their car show, the money
Grant,
they raise.
scholarships.
They actually are gonna be donating it to the Emory Cancer Fund this year, I believe.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay, I know they donate whatever their proceeds are back to something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think last year it was, like the fire
Fire.
department, the police, the EMS, they selected different things.
Sure, try to hit me with the fire department, that's okay.
Food pantry.
That puts it in a better light for me anyways. No, if it's going someplace for charity, that's better than, but it's up to.
I make a motion to accept the request.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion.
Can we do that? I don't,
Yep.
yeah. Well, I
Hearing
just meant
none, I'll
what's
call-
on
To
here.
waive the fee.
To waive the fee.
Yes.
Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote in favor.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
We should be better at getting things on the agenda when we do that, though.
Well, the
Just in
problem
case
is-
somebody doesn't like the Lions Club, they can yell at us for a while and we still say okay.
I've never,
it's hard because
I don't
a
have
lot
a
of
problem
things-
not asking for fees for things that are doing for charity or for something.
That's fine, but I just meant the meeting
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh, yeah.
The town doesn't know we were talking about it, so that's, I just,
They were
thinking out
nonprofit,
loud.
too,
Yeah, they're nonprofit.
I meant it. I would have still voted the same way no matter who yelled at me for doing it.
He's
Just
he's
give
absolutely
me the
right.
opportunity to yell, that's all.
Okay.
I'd like to see it on.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
You always put it on the agenda for next time. You know what the vote's gonna be.
There is that too. We can revisit it just to put it there.
I think
Come and
it's-
yell at us if you
Okay,
didn't like
I
now
think
the
if
vote.
anybody didn't like it, they'll send a
Love
Yeah.
mail, love mail. What do you call that? Love mail.
fan mail.
Sure.
All right, you ready?
yeah, I'm ready.
All right, the next is the annual license for Colebrook. I do not have a status update on the outstanding. I know I'm still holding the liquor license.
Those
right now.
fees we're not waiving.
No.
I'm still holding the liquor license because I've had no verification from the tax collector, and I did not have a chance because Jessica was there alone today for most of the day, and
What was that,
it's
like
tax day.
68 or something like that?
It's a pretty high number.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna request that, just like we did the other license, that you
Mhm.
approve this, and we'll hold it until,
But this one, if I'm correct, doesn't require state. It's not like the alcohol one, right?
No. we
So I would recommend we just table this
Yep.
and we revisit at the next meeting when we can verify an actual payment to the town has been made for the back fees,
okay?
taxes and fees, whatever the
Everybody
combination.
all set with
I'll
that?
second that, yep.
Claire?
We've had problems with Colebrook, remember, too,
For,
when they had all the trouble up there.
for
Couple years
the
ago.
special events and stuff?
Yeah.
The special events has been handled now with this events
Yeah.
permit. That's
And
how that's
much-
handled.
How many times have the police called up there with, like, their liquor license, with people fighting? And
You would have to ask the police chief for those, numbers.
maybe somebody should look into that?
We can do that. We also have the option, if there are problems, like there was a couple of years ago, I wasn't on the board, but the selectmen, it's well within their purview to hold a hearing, and we can't just take the license away, because we had that problem once before. Remember, Jim, we got in a lot, the ABCC wasn't too happy when they just revoked it here 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Something like that, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know, the guy appealed it and we had to go into Boston for the hearing, and then,
Why they appeal, why they
But,
got turned down.
yeah, we took the license away completely.
yeah, I think you would
But
have
we
to
can-
show cause why.
Yeah, we had to show, we had cause,
Yeah.
it's just
This
as they
is-
said we should have done it in steps.
The situation
So
that
we-
Claire's referring to what happened inside the campground
Yeah, I
at
know.
people's houses, not at the, and I don't know if it was like it
It
was,
happened right along the dirt road going up there.
yeah, but I'm saying, I don't know if it was a result of the alcohol being served.
Well, we
That
can-
never, ever came up.
We
but-
can hold a hearing,
Alcohol and drugs.
we can reconvene the hearing, the license hearing, and take
There's some
action.
guarantee from them that they're gonna control.
Mhm.
You
I
talking
don't-
about the
I-
concert they do up there with the, they bring the bands in and
Nothing
have
has
the
gone on up
teepees
there in
outside?
two
This
or
wasn't
3 years
even a
now.
concert.
This was.
But we have that authority on any license we issue.
They had some kind of function up there, I think it was.
Take it under
The
advisement.
thing where you
Disc
throw
golf.
the disc ball
It
or
was,
something like
they
that.
called it disc golf, but it was a concert.
As a, I'll call it peripheral event. It was like a gunshot that seemed to come from out in the street or someplace.
Yeah, but I think it was a different weekend.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with that event,
And then there was a stabbing or something like
which,
that.
yeah.
which was-
Yeah.
So
It all happened real close to each
the board
other.
at that time had them in with their attorney, and there was a long discussion about what they would do and what they wouldn't do, and how they would modify their behavior. And I
Mhm.
can't remember the details of the end result, but
Right.
I think the no more public events was one of the things without them verifying that the event was gonna be what they were getting permits for, because it went far beyond what they said it was gonna be. And that was just one issue. And I don't know if the police ever came to a conclusion on the gunshot as far as who or when or where or how.
I
I
don't-
think it was stabbing too or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Rather
stuff.
difficult
I
to
don't
Still
know if
considered
they-
Yeah,
unsolved.
right.
Yes.
ended their investigation
That's what
on that,
last
so those might be two open investigations that the police now still have on their books.
They've sent up ambulances up there quite a bit too.
Yeah.
So we have motion and second to table this.
Yep, well, I don't think you even need a motion on it.
No, you
Yeah,
can
we'll
just
just
table it.
deal
but
with it.
That's fine, you guys wanna vote since you
Okay.
did the motion?
Aye.
Okay, and we have our recycled
1-0.
procurement policy.
I'd like to table this, I'm still typing it up. I have it all written out, it's just I didn't get around to typing it.
Okay,
Alright, so we'll table that.
we're rolling. And there was some discussion, I guess, last week about coming up with a plan on the Henry Woods building.
Yeah, I wrote the notes. So we had a department head meeting. You wanna talk about it?
Oh, we
Phil?
had a department head meeting, last Tuesday,
Mhm.
and discussed, I had asked people to submit requests, written requests about their space needs and where they'd like to be. Didn't get anything in writing, but I know the town clerk's office wants to get out of the basement. And I think the plans are to have the departments that service the public hopefully be on one floor, the main floor here, the first floor. And we're having a meeting of department heads this month, and trying to further explore. Perhaps Faye can give us more details on.
Yeah, I brought the notes from that day with me. So, like Phil had said, we talked about Ellen moving up to the first floor. But the concern or the only thing would be the vault. Because it would appear that she would have to be placed in the assessor's office over here, so we could possibly double stack a vault. Because the vault underneath is obviously engineered to be there, so we could stack, a vault on top of a vault without having to structurally, support from this floor underneath.
Are you
Does
sure
that make
of that?
sense?
Is it rated for a certain amount
We
of
don't know
weight
that yet,
at
but we're
point?
thinking that would be the viable option. Or she had said there's other exterior vaults.
Engineers love to design things for capacity
Mhm.
and just give a little insurance, so I wouldn't assume
Well,
because.
I think
of
a
the-
vault company could tell us
I don't-
how
well,
that works.
I wouldn't assume, that's all. I wouldn't
Yeah.
assume that,
Structural engineer will eventually have to design that and stamp it.
to
for us
ensure it
make
can
that
take,
move.
that's a.
Or
that's a
she said there could be
significant
vault
change.
companies where they build, say, at the exterior. So you'd pour a concrete pad, have a vault, and then you'd have to cut like a doorway to a vault. So it would be outside of the building,
Almost
but,
like an addition to the building.
correct, but just the vault door would be inside the building.
Sounds like we're getting into much more costly renovation than
Very
changing
much
offices around.
costly,
So
yes.
For now, this
Um,
is probably not.
And the other thing
Too
would be to have the tax collector come down to the first floor so that you would have the assessor and the tax collector, because people come in with their tax questions, always get bounced down to the assessor for questions, and then back upstairs they come. I think in fairness for the taxpayers, the community, it would be nice to have those departments near each other. So that was the conversation the other day, is those three. Nancy was not present, so she didn't have input. Ellen was here and Eileen was here, so we talked about that. And I guess the general conclusion from every department that did attend is, I know the library and senior center were here too. This building doesn't really affect them. It was a department head meeting, so they did come and
Okay.
we did talk about some other things, but everybody in this building is concerned with this space. You know, like, as you see, our office, we have no room for any more file cabinets. We're at capacity. And we even have some in our back hallway closet, stashed. So, you know, we gotta keep that in mind of space. So everybody's looking for storage space for getting rid of documents. Because there are documents that we just can't get rid of. Like, we have old personnel files that we can't get rid of until the person's been out of employment from us for 20 years. Like, that's a
Yeah.
long time, you know, and Heather and I did do a project, and we went through the files and we dated them, so we know we can flip through and say, this year I could flip through every cabinet and see that the date is ready to be
Yeah.
pulled. But it's a matter of, there's records that just can't be destroyed. You know, and Ellen herself in the basement is at capacity in her vault. So the addition of a vault, even if she stayed there, we had no plans of moving, she would need more vault space also.
Has anybody talked about the possibility of the building department moving down?
To the first floor?
Yeah, with the tax collector?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think what we need to do,
I don't think there would be enough space down here for that.
I think we need to take a look. when
Between the two corners of the building? One couldn't fit in one and one couldn't fit in the other?
Well, you'd have the tax collector and the town clerk moving up.
Well, no, I'm not talking about bringing the clerk up, because we've already discussed if they're bringing the vault, the cost
Well,
might go through the
Here's the
roof.
concern, we've had 2 mold remediations in the town clerk's office in the past 5 years at the tune of $70,000. Granted, that we had insurance that covered some of us, but they will not cover us again. They have made that very clear, that if we do have another issue like that, that it will not be, the insurance will not
So
fund
there's
it.
a definite odor down there, a feeling of dampness.
Mhm.
You know, it's like being in a basement, you know.
Well, it is the
just-
basement, yeah.
and,
And only some of the basement is finished. So
Right.
some of it's unfinished and unhumidified, or dehumidified, shall we say.
Understood, I'm just curious that putting in a heat pump to condition that space to pull the moisture out with a little sump pump might be cheaper than putting in a new vault.
And Ellen also is at capacity with space, just, so.
Well, right, but long-term storage, the reason I'm putting this out there, my thoughts, and you can do whatever you want with it, I just wanted to throw it out there, is the town accountant, if she ends up getting that part-time person, her office is gonna be full, both desks used.
Mhm.
So the tax collector's office really isn't a lot of space, you know, you got 3 desks
Yeah,
squeezed
they're
into a
at
tiny spot,
capacity.
so you pull them out, you're not getting a lot of storage. But you got the building department that has the widest footprint with the most space between desks than any office in the building. You've got huge spaces between the desks.
They do have a lot of room up there.
Mhm.
Leaving them there is not taking advantage of the space needs of the building. Whether you move them into the collector's spot, or you move them down into the back where the police do their intake, and put the town collector into the police office in the front, and then you look at a long-term possibility of moving the clerk up to the top, where you create some type of system where she can, if we can get to the point where if we're gonna move her up, we're moving her up because she doesn't have to be in the vault every day, which means we've dealt with the access to electronic files for the majority of what she can do, and then she goes there when somebody's asking for something that's whatever, 40, 50 years back, or whatever that,
Mhm.
which is, I know. So I'm just putting it out there. It seems like we've got a big office space where we're using it for people that are only in the office a couple hours a day. They're usually in the field all day.
Well,
It's Andrea, and then once in a while Brianna
in that
subs
office
in.
is also the Board of Health. So you have
They-
records
I know,
for.
They do have a lot of space. on
You
it.
have
They really
records
do.
for two
They have,
departments.
you
They
know,
have a whole nother office that's filled with file cabinets.
Right.
They have a back room that's filled with file cabinets. So if you moved them, all those cabinets for both four departments have to come. Because it would be building, Board of Health, electrical, and plumbing.
I hear you. I'd have to look at a floor plan, but I keep thinking that the space directly under them is the same floor plan. It's just got extra walls in the way. So if you bring them down, again, you're putting the majority of the public request to the building on the first floor, outside the town clerk.
Okay, here's what I think.
So that's all I'm looking at is,
Yeah, here's what I
it's
think
just a
we
thought,
need
but
to-
I don't want to argue it anymore.
No, I
That's
think-
your thing. I'll just step back.
Well,
I
I
just wanted to
think,
put it
I
out
think we're
there.
gonna have to we're gonna either have to hire someone to come in here and do this, engineer it, design it, or something, because, you know, all of us that are involved can sit there and say, well, I think this, but at the end of the day, I think that's just how it's gonna have to work, and we have to think about, where's the budget?
Right.
What's the budget gonna be?
That's what I was about ready to
We
say.
have no money,
I have,
so forget it.
I think it's gonna be quite interesting when the police department finally moves out. It would appear to me the floors aren't level. And
Here,
they,
definitely not,
you know, I don't know if they were level when I went to school here.
probably not.
I didn't go in that classroom, I was upstairs, so, but I know you could stand on a board on one end of the building and it would go up on the other. But, that said, I think something like this is probably gonna take pretty good amount of money, and I think it belongs on the capital plan. And to be phased in through the capital plan. And, it's gonna take some time anyway, and we're looking for the projects 4 years out or whatever. I think this would be a good project to put there. Otherwise, I just don't see us being able to just all of a sudden just come in with a lump sum and just say, let's do this. This is a building's on the historic register. It's got a lot of issues related to that. So I think we need to be taking a look at that.
I don't think it all needs to be the capital plan, but some of it certainly.
Well, no, maybe not all of
If
it,
the
but I
police-
think,
If the police are gonna move out, they're gonna move out. We can probably, without hiring somebody, we don't have to do this now. This is a couple months away. They gotta be moved out and cleared out before it's ready.
yeah, But
I
I-
certainly think we can look at the spaces and make some suggestions and see if we have any takers that would like to go move someplace down. You know, with them, so what's in it for them? Why is it a good move for them? And see if we can look at how we'd like to use the space.
mhm.
And then see if anybody wants to go along with that. And if so, great. But moving people in general is at least cumbersome,
Yeah,
if not expensive. And new vaults, I think, are not in the budget this year
No.
or next year. But yeah, capital plan for new vaults certainly, but then that would put us, like you said, 3 years out maybe.
okay.
I don't know.
And I mean, I don't know if it's a matter of, you know, putting out to bid this remodel and see what comes back, if, you know, but we have to have some sort of a space needs basis to go off of, you know.
Right, and I think we need to get an idea of
And I think-
a vault cost.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be a separate
I
from
did,
anything else.
after our last meeting, I did ask Ellen to look into the vault companies that she's aware of, that's her forte, find out what we're looking at, you know,
I
either
think that's
A,
a
for
pretty
options, or B, cost as well, like if it's inside, can you double stack, does it, how much to do outside? You know, we're gonna have a follow-up.
I'd rather not change the footprint of the building. Like we said, historic and all, I think it's smarter to not modify. it if
Right,
we don't
and the
have
good
to.
thing is if you've ever walked through the police department, like any of our offices, they have these partition walls, but they're not permanent structural walls. Like the whole police department opens up. With the walls
would
that
look
you
like
see in there,
this.
it would look like this, yes. A lot of them are just temporary walls. Like my office and Phil's office, it's a not temporary, but just a non-structural wall. So it could be knocked down and made one office. A lot of that in the police department is like that, almost all of it. So the only thing you probably run into is whatever electrical they've added
to those walls. So we're gonna have a follow-up staff meeting, see what we kind of energized everybody conversation-wise, and now it's kind of up to everybody to give us more. You know, is it just file cabinets that you're looking to store, or is it because you need to add a desk? What are we looking at, space-wise?
Well, I know whenever I try to reorganize a simple room at home, I take the dimensions. Why don't we get the dimensions of the rooms?
We actually have them.
Okay.
George and I don't know what project we were doing, but we went through and measured with tape measures every room.
Good.
And we have a plan
That's a good
of
starting
that,
point.
so,
And then if we look at those as opposed to what spaces people have now, this is saying the treasurer's gonna need more space, the collector, I mean, we need more room.
collector needs more space, Ellen needs more.
Ellen needs more
Everybody
space.
Yep.
Well, no, I don't
I
wanna
don't
knock
feel
the
that,
building and departments and all
I
that, but
don't
they do
feel
have,
like-
they do have a large open floor.
building
that'll-
department
might be better
is not
utilized.
asking for any change.
Right, of course not.
They are,
They're in the luxury hotel, of course.
Yeah.
They're not for needing,
Okay.
that's
No, but what,
why.
I understand what
They're,
Matt's saying,
they
if
know
they
they
drop down
have
into the police
plenty,
area,
and they don't want you to
they
even
could have
think
the same
about them.
space and maybe have separatism in their offices and have more of the desks separated instead of in a number of some of them. It
Yeah.
might not hurt them to do it, and they might like the idea.
yeah, I'm not sure.
And that's obviously the high foot traffic for all the permits in town, and that would be a nice thing on this floor.
Mhm.
And they may welcome the compartmentalized rooms for their department down there.
Yeah.
Okay, we just have a few pieces of correspondence, and also the deadline for articles for the town meeting is coming right up, and I had a couple, I had 3 or 4 that I thought we should take a look at, and we need them in by Wednesday, right?
Correct, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. I had some that I thought that we need to take a look at and placing on there. One, I think we need to take a look at our personnel policy and bringing it a little more up to date, and it involving a committee to take a look at classifications and to have an appeal process in there somewhere. Going back to having some sort of personnel committee along with a policy. I think if you read through it, you're gonna see that employees who feel aggrieved, can appeal to their supervisor, and then to the town administrator, and then to the board. And the board's decision is final. I think it's very, very difficult to put the town administrator in a position where that individual, probably has a very good idea of what the board at the time views are on certain issues, and it puts the employee in not quite as good a position, and I think having another step in there with an outside group would make it a little fairer. And also, we've got the issues of the job classification, which currently is in our domain, and you have to, my thoughts are, we're all well aware of the budget, and are we in a position to give a very good evaluation of those classifications? I think it would make the process a little fairer for our employees and somewhat fairer for the taxpayers as well, and it would allow an outside group involved. Now, I know the argument against it is that they've had trouble in the past maintaining the personnel committee. I think one of the things that we had trouble when I was on the board before at times, and my first thought would be that they don't always have to meet on a regular basis. They could meet when there are issues to be decided. I think that would make it a little easier, and we need to whether the policy changes or it stays the way it is, the procedures, we need to be taking a look, maybe in the late summer when it's a little slower, at the personnel policy. I think there's some updates in there that we need. The other article involves the easement for the Banowski easement down in Barry Plains.
We have that on there.
Yeah, we have that. Okay, that one's already
Yeah, we
on.
have that.
Okay.
Can I make a comment on that one?
Yeah.
I went down and looked at that. to see what it actually looks like.
Yeah,
And the area that they're talking about for the septic, it's, I believe, been marked off by their surveyor.
mm-hmm,
Now, when you're up on the blacktop road,
yep,
which is blacktopped and used and everything like that, you look down,
Yeah.
and there's the slope or grade or whatever you wanna call it of the road, and very soon after that, it looks like that's the markers for where they want their septic. That area, which Banowski says he doesn't know, and I believe he's probably right, because it's where the road used to be.
that's right.
I asked maybe to have Jason go down and look, and if there was no need to the town for slope easement or anything of that area, I would be inclined to say, let's deed that piece to Banowski, get rid of it, and let him worry about maintaining his septic. But that's just.
Yeah, the road used to go over there
Right.
because it didn't come out up
No,
across
then
from
they
Oak.
rerouted
Oh, I
it.
know, yeah, and the
But
road.
it's way up high. I mean,
Oh,
Are we
I-
getting into an issue with something that used to be a road and changing the deeds? I know we had an article on about this, about opening up a discontinued road before, and
Which
it
road
wasn't
is
as
this on?
easy. It didn't revert back to people, but
Yeah,
the butters had right to use and easement, but can we deed it back? Or deed it
Well,
up if it was a road?
If we own that piece, which I believe we do, and I think their surveyor confirmed that, whether we can go back and find a town taking or a laying out of the road by a town meeting way back, probably had happened long enough ago. We would have someone spend a long time going through Ellen's records to get back to whatever that vote was, but she might be able to pinpoint it fairly quickly. But if we had the, geez, what the heck was the name of the road?
Depot?
No, I'm thinking of the one that we'd taken and moved the road.
there's Old Cam Road.
No, this is up, if you went off, if I'm
Station
heading,
Road is-
if I'm heading
yeah,
home,
roads.
I'm heading towards the DPW, I get to the bottom of the hill, and there's the road to the right that's got the misspelled sign.
Chamberlain?
Chamber.
Chamberlain Hill?
Yeah, Chamber Leon, or whatever it is. If you go up that, boop, 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 finally you get to the area where this road was, but it was moved by the
Mhm.
town.
Okay.
And this stretch in between was what we ended up doing we relayed out the road is what we did.
Is that Lane Road up there, you mean?
It was the main road that goes up to,
Oh, they're not talking about Lane Road that has north and south up there?
no.
Then it becomes Cutler Road. And you can look
Cutler?
off and see in the woods, see
Was it
where the
Cutler?
road used to go years, I don't know when.
That's even another road.
Yeah, I know,
But this was just a piece by it that
yeah,
needed to be, so that,
yeah, they're all,
you know,
that was the piece with Earl and putting the stone on the corner on Cutler Road, right?
probably,
Yeah, and we didn't own the land, Earl just went up and did it.
maybe,
What?
maybe.
Yeah, I remember.
So,
Not-
to be more specific,
it's
my question was really, if it's a road or recorded with the state as a road, do we have the right to deed it to somebody?
Yeah, it was a
No,
town
you-
road.
You can do,
Yeah, we'd be
It's not a
relaying out
state
the
road, I think, so
Yeah,
it is
it
all
has to be
town
Registered with the
property.
state, Like
It
all
has-
of our roads are registered with the
it
state.
has to go to
roads.
town meeting, but,
I got you.
yeah, it's a really strange piece of road, it's right down there. The road used to go there, and
agree with you.
unfortunately,
You need the package that Phil has to go down there and actually look at it with the thing in your
What's the
hand.
land size we're talking, square
not
footage?
much.
Probably 30 by 40 or something like that,
So 1,200 square feet,
yeah.
I mean.
By the time you give what you probably could give to make it make sense, it might be a couple of hundred square feet, but it's still not. a
So
big
do you
deal.
sell it to him for some small amount?
He can't, what his problem is, and I'm not advocating for or against it, he's got, his backyard is into a wetlands area, so he can't put his septic in the backyard. He's got his proposed tank that'll be out there
Mhm.
pumping around to the front yard where he wants to put his septic field.
He doesn't want a tight tank, huh?
I don't think so, unless he likes to pump it a lot.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, they built the new road, unfortunately, they never took the old road out.
They never abandoned it, so.
They never even, it's still there.
Well, the part where his where this grass is and everything.
It's not on the
you
road,
don't-
right?
It
It's-
doesn't look like a road there.
No, but there is, you can go down
If you
there.
dug deep enough, according to the surveyor, I
Yeah.
think it hit the old blacktop.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a strange piece. Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, that.
Okay.
The meeting, huh?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure on that one. The other issue, I think we
I think we
make,
need to explain that to the town in some.
oh, we will.
Some sort of more concise manner than we
Oh, we'll be,
discussed it here.
yeah, we got, yeah,
It'll be beautiful.
yeah,
I hope
it'll be
so,
beautiful. We'll get
Otherwise,
it
people
there.
will be scratching their heads.
It's Academy Award stuff.
That's right. And if it doesn't, the academy doesn't come your way and everybody's mad, that's why we have life insurance. You have life insurance, right?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay, one
You
other,
can't afford to die if that's what you mean.
yeah, you may be drawn and quartered there or something, I don't know. Just a rhetorical sort of comment. Another area that I think we need to have some language for is, and I was giving this some thought, dealing with this whole medical marijuana issue and the donations, and I'll defer to Jim on this one, but how we can accept donations that are coming in that may or may not be part of a, you know, it's almost a conditional donation in this case, and how can we allocate that money? We get donations occasionally from somebody, but it's not in this manner. Do we need to clean up our language on that?
I like the language of what they're saying. Are you talking about the 25,000?
Yeah, I'm talking about that sort of thing, but,
Yeah. Well,
that
if
was
that
straight to them.
25,000 is specific, I think that language that they have needs to be expanded a little to make it clear what it is. Once that language is cleaned up, my concept would be, it would go to the treasurer, deposit it into account for that purpose.
okay, you
And then
don't,
someone's gonna have the authority to say, issue a check for, $200, $500, 25 cents, whatever it is,
okay.
to Mary Jones because she performs some services as an unpaid caregiver.
Am I reading it wrong? Didn't his language seem to indicate that it's going directly to the control of the caregivers, not through us, the way Paul had it written
The
right now?
Council on Aging sounded
Yeah.
like he wanted the council to have a say in how it
Which
gets
has to go to
dispersed.
the town.
Which would,
It has to
it would
track
have
through
to
the
have a town
treasurer.
budget.
Yeah.
It'd have to have a
Yeah.
town
Right.
account.
It'd have to track through
To
the
be able to
town
be, to
treasurer.
be able to be used the way they're proposing, you can't just go into the Council on Aging's account and then have them just issue checks out.
Well, I don't think
randomly.
they do anyways.
Yeah.
I think it
Okay,
all.
That was my concern.
passes
It-
through the
I
account
wasn't
and
underst- I
treasurer.
wasn't understanding how that was going
Yeah, I
because
think that could be cleaned up.
It would
and
kind of
make
get
it work.
defined like that revolving account the police have. There's
Something
certain
like that.
rules you can
Right.
use
It would
and
be-
certain means that
Yeah, and I didn't know
you
if we
draft
needed,
up and then you set the account and say, follow the rules.
And the treasurer and accountant can tell us exactly which section they feel would be the appropriate one. There's a
Okay.
couple of them that allow kind
Yeah.
of revolving accounts and accounts for a specific purpose.
okay,
And someone
yeah,
could give you $500 to replace the trees on Main Street, and that's $500 to replace the trees on Main Street.
mm-hmm.
Okay, exactly.
Okay, I didn't know if you thought we needed just to have a bylaw or something that would specify how it moved around and,
We
because
can
this
ask
is
Jean,
coming,
if we have
that's
to
what I
have
was
town
saying.
meeting vote to establish an
Oh,
account,
just a,
we could ask her that, yeah. Well, we can ask Jean if a town meeting vote needs to be had in order to establish an account for that purpose.
yeah, Claire?
Are you also kind of referring to what we discussed at the finance committee? Like people making donations to the ambulance, but it's really not going into the.
Yeah, well, that's a whole, yeah, well,
No, that's because there's a private entity involved.
Yeah, but people are thinking that they're donating it to the town
Yeah, I know.
ambulance, and it's not. And we need to kind of fix that somehow, because I don't think these people realize that.
I'm not sure.
And I don't know how you'd handle it, Jim. That might be something to give some thought
It's
to.
another issue.
Well, it would be, it all depends on how the check is written. If the check is written to town of Barry,
It's the town's
it should be
money.
going to the town. If it's written to Barry EMS, it may go to this private entity,
Yeah.
it's kinda like
There
the
is no
police
Barry EMS
association.
anymore. It's their association.
I think they still have some sort
I
of
don't know what-
association,
They have an
right?
association,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's very
what-
specific, but if it didn't say their association exactly,
Correct, if it
You
says
have to
town of
ask
Barry,
them
or
to
it says
clarify
Barry
the check.
Association, it's,
So what are they doing with the check?
They're going to this private entity.
the old association, I don't recall the name of theirs.
Bears.
Bears. So if they write a check to Bears, it goes to Bears, and it's the association that's not really part of the
Some people
ambulance
don't.
anymore.
no, it's private.
Well, anyway, I just was
We have a
not,
lot of that, cause like fire association, police association,
Yeah.
the library has one, there's a lot of that.
Right.
But it's a matter of, we can't tell people how to write their checks.
Right.
Well, people are straightforward, like the fire association, if they wanna give us an association clerk,
Right.
they're usually very clear to give it to the association versus the fire department gives funds, and
Yeah.
it's usually
I mean, it's-
easily divisible.
It sounds
And they
like
understand
that,
our purposes, but we don't know Bears' purpose with it.
I think the Bears would have to establish with the community
Mhm.
how the checks are supposed to be written. You know,
But people don't know. I didn't know they were still active.
yeah.
who's they?
And people in
The
town.
private, the
when
Bears
somebody
Association.
dies-
Well,
She
they're
didn't
still
know they-
active, I mean, it's still.
She thought they closed their books and said, we're done as a
People in town
501c or
don't
whatever,
realize
when the
that,
town
and
took it over.
They need to be told, because they're
That's all.
thinking they're giving it to
People need to be
the
aware when they write a
ambulance.
check, we can't.
Well,
And
they-
it's not going to the ambulance.
Well,
Well, I mean,
anyway,
it is indirectly, the change was the personnel came to the town.
yeah.
The best way is what you're doing,
But-
Claire, you're just spreading the
Well,
word.
anyway,
So
I-
people
Yeah.
become more aware in the
I guess-
meeting, they watch it, it'll spread, and people realize there are two entities and
And I don't know
got
if
a
we can really
choice.
sit here in official capacity and try to just,
Okay,
No, I,
you know,
I guess I would-
tell people, they need to be aware of how they spend their money.
yeah. I guess I'll defer to Jean and Jim as to whether we need
to
something.
establish an account.
Yeah, or, yeah, something like that.
Depending who they hand the check to, if they hand it to Bears, then they're not
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
told. If they hand it to someone in town, then
Now,
they'll be told.
we had couple of other issues I had given some thought to, and this is, a couple of these are a little tougher questions, I guess, but I think they deserve to go to the town. You know, over the years, we've had, you know, part-time employees like firefighters and stuff. I recall we had when we didn't have enough members on the finance committee, and I'm sure there's other committees, but that's the one that comes to mind. And, you know, we've had firefighters apply and then they can't be on because they draw some sort of check from the town, even though it's pretty much a call fire department. It's, you know, I'm wondering if we shouldn't modify some of our bylaws to enable those type of people, if they want to serve. They're very community-minded, or they wouldn't be on the fire department or the rescue department, whatever. It could be all kinds of things, but,
I don't think it's in any capacity, so you couldn't be an employee and on the finance committee either, it's not just,
oh, I know that.
yeah.
I think it's then the state ethics level that this is concerning more than anything.
I'm sure that's where it stems from, because, I mean, I have to say I disagree. I've told Charlie that I disagree with changing it, and the only reason why I say I disagree with that is because, let's just say I work for the police department, and I live here in town, well, so does 3 other police officers. Well, we can all apply to be appointed to the finance committee, and now we have a weighted finance committee.
Right.
That
So
is,
you keep the financial end and the business end separate. You know, the finance committee's an outside group looking at the finances of the town.
yeah, I'm not just saying it would necessarily be for just that committee, but that's the one that comes to mind the
I think
most.
that's the only committee that there's a bylaw for
Okay.
that says that you cannot.
Now, I had thought of a way around that, and that would be to have some sort of limit as to how much a person would be making, so you wouldn't necessarily, sometimes we don't have enough people to serve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it comes down to the money that you're being paid.
No, it doesn't, but I'm
Right.
just saying, to prevent like what you were saying from
Yeah.
happening.
You'd have to abstain.
Yeah, or recuse themselves on those votes.
From everything.
No,
Even at
that-
town meeting, because you can't vote at town
We have
meeting on
had
that.
people, what I'm looking
Yeah, he
at
can,
is,
person can
No,
vote.
no, I'm saying you can't sit on the finance committee and make recommendations
That'd be a
towards the
different-
town
that's a different
budget.
vote. That's a different vote.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just
The
thinking, the board.
we've had people on finance, well, Brian in them last week, Kathy was on school, and they would abstain from school. David Tuttle would abstain because his wife worked up at Quabbin.
Correct. But they're not a direct, they're not a direct
part-time
employee.
firefighter,
But they're not a direct employee, Claire.
they abstain from the fire department. They don't vote on anything to do with the fire department.
I don't know.
Okay, well, Matt,
Just the one thing I would say about that is it's more about perception than reality.
right,
An individual's integrity is not gonna matter if they're an employee or they're not, nor is it gonna matter if their wife is an employee or not. So what I mean is, if someone's on the finance committee and they wanna do the right thing, they'll recuse themselves in the right place and they'll participate in the right place. Whether they're a part-time employee, because I would agree that I wouldn't want any full-time employees, but part-time I would kind of condone, and part-time meaning
certain amount of money.
a certain amount of hours.
Hours,
Your actual
whatever.
commitment to the department. Because if I'm a part-time person on the fire department and maybe one month, maybe I put in 30 hours because there's a lot of issues going on, and then the next month I put in 2. So that's gonna balance itself out as a part-time firefighter on call, just for this example. But what if I happen to be the husband of the next town administrator? Do you think that I wouldn't be just as tempted to weight my decision on that finance committee, being the husband of somebody in a very high influential position, as if I was just an employee? I think, and that's where I'm saying it's a matter more of perception, and that's where using the proper certificates of disclosure that the state has for conflict of interest issues, and people, the rest of the committee watching it and paying attention is a big part of that. And there's a certain level of, you gotta give the moderator a certain judgment. If he thinks the 4th part-time firefighter shouldn't be on it, he should say, okay, I can't put you on there. Because he doesn't have to have this, don't get me wrong, he doesn't need a series of objective criteria that determine, he can just say, no, we already got 3. I'm not giving you another firefighter.
I think when it comes to the finance committee, we've never had a problem filling the finance committee seats. It just came a point where we had vacancies for like the last year, all of a sudden.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Long
It's
time.
been a long,
Yeah, well,
I
anyway,
applied for that for years and years and years, and Paul said no.
we had a full committee before you came on when they had those.
well,
No, I remember we had a full committee then, and then, what's his name that did the park stuff? Bernie?
Bernie.
When
Yeah.
Bernie left is when we had the vacancy, and then
So
we kind
had
of flip-flopped with
vacancies
people.
Before Bernie, before then.
I tried to get on when I was in town.
So anyway, I see where Charlie's coming from is all I meant.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance we could determine on how we look at that, and maybe rather than saying no employee, we may say employees that do not work more than so many hours per
And I don't
week.
know if there's a state statute this is coming from, I don't know that.
yeah, I don't know
I
either.
thought the ethics was just pretty
It
clear
is a
that if it
bylaw,
was,
but I don't know if
if
it stems
I don't
from
think it does.
someplace else.
Well, anyway, I had just thought of it, and maybe I'm not somewhat naive. I think people that volunteer for like the finance committee and people serve on, say, the fire department or whatever, I think are motivated. I've never seen exceptions. I've seen things get messed up on occasion, but it's not intentional. I suppose I'm kind of a trusting soul.
Could I sort of speak to the topic that
Yep.
having in a prior life been a town moderator and having the responsibility to make, I think I made something like 26 appointments every year. One of them was the finance committee.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't wait for people to come to me, knocking on my door, could I be on such and such a committee? I went out and found people.
Okay.
I actually selected certain categories I was specifically looking for. And I would go to those people and ask them if they would be willing. One was an owner of a substantial business in Worcester, and I felt that he had
Mm-hmm.
extremely high levels of financial knowledge and everything. And he agreed. Everybody told him, no, you'll never get them, you'll never do it. But he did. And then one year, because that finance committee, you'll like this one, Claire. That committee had always been men. The year I got elected, it was still all men. It stayed men for a couple of years while I was the moderator. And one year, I decided the vacancy, it was time to put a female on that finance committee. Well, it just happened that there was a young lady in the town that had been selected as Miss Massachusetts. She not only was good looking, but she was a very, very smart young lady. I mean, she was very smart. So I called up the chairman and I told him what I was gonna do. I said, I'm gonna name so-and-so to be on the finance committee. Oh, God! Because she was about 19. He said, oh! I said, wait. I said, just be patient with me. I said, let me do it. You tell me in 6 months whether I've done the right thing or the wrong thing. In 6 months, he called me up and said, she's the best worker I have on the committee.
Yep.
So I'm not faulting Paul, because I know the problem.
Yeah.
The people don't come to you. You have to go to them.
Yeah.
And it takes time.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
I think the issue over the firemen, it's an interesting issue, but why make that the driving thing to fill vacancies? I mean, how many people live in Barry that are at voting age?
Oh, I don't know.
At least 3,000.
What is it, Barry, in 20?
3,600 registered, but who's counting?
At least 3,000.
I mean, right now, we have a full committee.
Yeah, I don't know, I was just thinking about this.
Yeah, I think it's a good committee right
And
now.
I had one other one, now I don't know if
Weighted
this
by women right now.
governed by state law,
For the brick.
and that involves, do we need to have some language in our town bylaws about people of certain ages that can work off their taxes and stuff? Do we need that modified? People that volunteer, well, it's not really volunteering, but they can work a certain amount of
The
hours.
senior work off?
What?
The
The senior
senior
work
work-off?
off, yeah.
That's a state statute.
Yeah, it's a state, that's overseen by the state. I think we're allowed to set the limit,
Something like
the
that.
dollar
I
limit,
mean, it sets forth certain,
criteria.
yeah, I
Mhm.
Oh,
thought,
okay.
it's rather broad though. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if we needed to have something that would guide us.
What are you looking for to change, I guess is what I'm asking. Do
I'm
you see
not-
that there's a need for a change?
Well, if someone's already in the hole, apparently they're not allowed to participate.
I'm
They're
not sure.
behind.
I'd have to look at the statute to see if that's.
Okay.
And it may be our local bylaw that actually is the one that says.
Yeah, I didn't know if we had to
You
have
can't
something that would
participate
permit.
after you realize you're in debt. And so that might be one of the reasons why it was, let's look at it to see, did we take someone out of the pool of resources that actually may need it more than someone else?
Yes.
Yeah, we did?
No.
Oh.
No, I just think that was
I see what you're saying.
one of the things that I've heard people ask about, saying, once I miss my deadline for taxes, I can no longer participate, yet it's the only way I know how to dig out of this hole is to give my time because I don't have the money.
Yeah, I haven't had that in front of me yet. We can look at the state, what the state law says about the senior work-off though. That may just tell us
Yeah.
right then and there or not.
Yeah. And the local bylaw too, to see if we wrote
I
it
don't know if we
in
got
outside
one.
of it.
I don't think there
I
was a
don't think
local
we have
bylaw
one.
on it.
Then what did we approve? It's the finance and, it's our policy then. It may not be a town meeting, it may be our finance administration policy.
Not even a policy, I don't think.
Because Heather presented something
It may
that
be a
said we
selectmen's
needed to
policy.
approve the
The
change in,
The senior work-off.
The senior work.
right, but I don't know if there's other paragraphs in it that,
I think the state
Mayor.
statute allowed for an increase from
Yes.
$750 to $1,500 a year.
yes, that's what she presented. But
Yeah.
I haven't read the whole thing that we have written, other than the
I think
cap
that was
numbers.
a policy, I don't think that was a bylaw.
Yeah.
Right, and so that might just be something we can do
Yeah,
outside
maybe you
of
can
this
just do
process.
it. I don't know, I was just thinking of these things.
I don't even know if it's a policy. but-
Claire?
I don't know.
They, I came up and asked to do a senior work-off,
Mhm.
and they said, no, you can't until you are caught up on your water and your taxes. They have to be paid in full.
Okay.
Now, if you get behind, if you wanna get caught up,
Mhm.
which, the way taxes are going, I probably never will be caught up.
Well, this doesn't go on to your current taxes. You have to work a full year and then it comes off the following.
Yeah, well, that's fine with me. It keeps, it's paying off something.
But it comes
Whatever
off
it
your,
is.
it comes off the next year's
The
taxes,
next
not
year's,
the
which would be-
past.
Yeah, but that's okay, you can
Then
still.
her current funds could go to the back debt.
Yeah, but what you
Right.
pay in the
If she's
current,
paying
you
off
pay
the
in
current debt, the
back.
back debt still sits there. That
Okay,
makes sense.
I'll pull the state law and see what it
I
says.
think
Yeah.
that would be
And I'll
wise.
send you
Makes
the,
sense.
I'll pull out the senior work-off paperwork that we use. I don't believe it's a policy, and I don't think it's anything. I think it's just a selectmen's, we use it for
Okay.
when they apply.
Dick, did you have a
There's an
comment?
application form.
Yeah, it's an application form to be on it.
I
Sort of be a policy.
recommended this at the senior center, but we don't have enough opportunities within there to make it worthwhile at the senior center. I don't know what Claire was applying for, or other people
The
may have.
senior worker.
But I mean, you have to be assigned to a department.
Correct.
Yeah.
To work it off.
Yeah,
Which I've got
We have a lot of
experience in most the
opportunities, we
towns.
just need to take advantage of it.
yeah, and I didn't
Even
know
if
if
it's
we,
just simple filing.
I didn't know if we needed something on the, through a town meeting to come up with major modifications, that's all I was thinking.
We'll look at the paperwork and the
Okay.
state law and see what it says.
That's all I was thinking. Okay, with that, I'm just gonna go over a couple of quick letters. We have new assessments from the Quabbin Regional School District, and some of these were in the newspaper this morning, in the Worcester paper. It was a little bit vague as to just how much was coming off, but, it's a very long letter. We have a notice from the West Brookfield Board of Selectmen of their opposition to a proposal involving Tri-County Recycling, which is located on East Street in Ware. That's, I believe, where Route 32 and Route 9 split. Route 32 goes off to Gilbertville, Route 9 heads into West Brookfield. They sent us a copy, and it's a copy of a letter they sent to Representative Berthume and Senator Goldie. And the notice from Maya, and then the Barry Common thing, and then the correspondence involving the marijuana thing. And with that, and we have an anonymous letter, something about Nelson Street and the kids playing basketball. Yeah, I think it's anonymous. But
It is.
Oh,
The concern or the comments with that letter was basically asking if the town can somehow build a basketball court in South Barry, because there is no basketball court for the kids in South Barry to go to, for thought.
It's unfortunate it's anonymous.
Say that
So-
again?
It's unfortunate it is anonymous. It's a good direction, but for some reason, someone wasn't
yeah,
embarrassed.
it's,
I don't know if,
there's-
what does Barry
well,
Housing Authority have
some
down there?
people have
Is there a
different
they don't
basketball
have
for
that,
court?
they've got a parking lot over in the back.
There's certainly land down there, but when we redid the Little League fields in this town, for example, they did fundraisers, the Little League did fundraisers, and literally hundreds of people get involved to donate their time, and they got businesses to donate material and to sell us material at reasonable prices. So I would think if someone's interested in a basketball court in the community, this is a great chance to get the community involved for it, and perhaps start to fundraise, and we could make available space for it down there. But let them have a committee or a park commission to look into fundraising, and let them put it together, just like Felton Field, let the Little League do it down there. We did our own fundraising and our own work ourselves. You know, I think it'd be easier, it may be wiser to give them the nod to do it, and let them get the community involvement, and especially the kids that want the basketball, you know, to work for it and to get something fruitful from their labor, I think would be multi-step
Yeah.
beneficial.
Good idea.
Be helpful if they had like a specific location that they were thinking of too.
Yeah, I think it's hard because there's not like a basketball organization that's looking for this, whereas Little League is like it's an organization that has
Right.
kids
That's right.
involved, parents
Well,
involved.
perhaps we could look at our cameras and say, whoever wrote the letter, please ask us for a site more specific,
Yep.
and move forward.
Actually, I would
I've got a feeling.
like input from the people that play basketball down there.
Absolutely.
What do you want and where do you want it? What would be
Yeah.
your
I
interest?
don't know if you
The
saw-
court in Rice Park is utilized quite a bit.
Okay.
Across from School Street, across from the
Oh, it is, yeah, I
Oh,
see
yeah.
kids there all the time.
People there all the time in that, and especially the basketball,
That's
pickup
it?
games and kids.
Yep.
It's-
Thank you.
Oh.
And with that, I've come to the end.
Can I just, before we
Sure.
close? I'd asked a couple of things to hit the agenda and they didn't, and I hope we could maybe discuss them on our next agenda.
Okay.
One was, I don't know how you two felt about it, but to hear about an on-duty officer discharging service firearms during the duty here in town, to find out about it through the news, put me back a step. I really thought that's something we should be able to hear about, and we want to think about addressing it publicly
Okay.
or discussing it so that we can, and they can get the
Okay.
chief's thoughts on it too, but I think we should be apprised of the discharge of fire on the line of duty here in town.
Okay.
We're responsible for the weapons and the officers, and
Yeah.
it'd be nice to know before we hear the news.
Okay, we
Without-
can have the fire,
Without believing that I have the answer completely, if that is in fact a true situation that happened, I would hope that the chiefs got somebody looking into it. But
The
I don't know.
No, it was the chief that
Chief
shot.
was involved.
they had to shoot a bobcat.
Shot a bobcat, rabid bobcat.
A rabid
And
Oh,
the-
so there was something that didn't,
Yeah, it wasn't
But
like a
it's
shooting
still,
or a.
Yeah,
but
I
it's still on a
understand.
private property to discharge of the weapons, and even wildlife, I mean, if it's attacking someone, you've got to shoot it with justification, but, for example, if they just deem they shoot it because they thought it was a rabbit, they don't have the right to do that, it's got to go to an animal control officer. So,
funny thing is, I think the animal control officer can shoot it.
Yeah, she
yes,
can,
absolutely.
without having to report.
Right, the animal control can, the ACO can, but generally officers, I think, can't, so it should be some sort of, just so we know what's going on.
Okay.
I don't want to interfere with.
We can have him in at the next meeting and ask for his take on that,
There
or.
were some
or you
emails that
could
went
even-
out to us.
After the fact, the fact that it came back as rabid?
Yeah.
Yes, but not about the shooting, that came through the news
I mean, you could
first.
always reach out to him personally and just have a conversation, see,
Well,
there may be.
I'd like us to talk about what we might want to see as a protocol, and
Just-
discuss with him as well.
Yeah, I just don't know if there is any policy on that, and
We
you
can make
step
one.
into strong chief, I'm not sure what that sets either. Just
Well,
for
yeah, but we'll-
conversation.
He has the control over his department, but we get to tell him what to do.
He has control over his
I'm just
department,
joking.
his funds and
I
everything.
hear you.
But I don't think he'll be objectionable to us wanting to know
No.
about discharge of firearms in the town, I don't think.
Right.
We'll talk to him and see.
Yeah, I mean, I just, maybe I suggest maybe you have a conversation with him, and then if he wants to come in, and we can have him at the next meeting.
Still like an
I
on our
agree,
agenda.
just to put it on the agenda
Put
for
on the
us to
agenda so we can
discuss,
talk about it,
Okay.
and we can
That'd be
each, if we
fine.
want, have a discussion with him to see what he says about it.
based on a communication policy.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to find out, and the second, oh my goodness, oh, yes. I thought that we discussed at the finance committee meeting that we were going to be bringing in our thoughts on recovery process for our disheveled accounting process here in town. I won't say disheveled, but I mean, we haven't got our audit done
Okay.
in a while, and I was hoping that was gonna come up today, and we didn't, so can we put it on the agenda for next?
I
Okay.
did not know that needed to go on, I wasn't at that meeting, so
No,
I
I-
apologize.
Yeah, that was probably,
So what's
And we-
the next thing you want?
We would,
Just the-
I can tell you what I wrote down in general. I mean, I outlined questions I wanted to ask of each of the two, the treasurer and the accountant. I wrote down questions I'd like to ask them to try to get a feel for what's going on.
mhm.
I also wrote down what I think would be our goals of the whole process overall. And I broke it down for, our process, our goals overall, our process from here, how I think we should proceed. And I had questions, A, for overall what they thought their role in this should be as far as preparing our books to be balanced. And, what do they understand their roles are doing, and what do they think they should be doing, and get their suggestions. And then a second side of that is, for the current situation, where do we go from here to make sure they're done on time before we lose funding for next year and lose our funds from this past year? Because from this point forward, funds are frozen, I believe, until this is balanced.
I'm thinking Department of Revenue probably has outlines as to who's in charge of what.
Right, and I was
guessing-
expecting that from you two.
I didn't know that.
After our
you were
last
looking
meeting,
for
I
that.
thought we were pretty clear that we wanted to understand, well, if we look up our minutes, I thought we voted pretty clearly that we could understand, we wanted to.
We're going to be submitting questions to the town administrator's office.
We wanted to understand the procedures, what we asked of the two of you combined. So that whether that means from DOR.
Yeah, and I thought I had forwarded along a schedule.
You sent a schedule that Abington, Mass had.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to find anything more current.
We have also, just to clarify, if you reviewed the finance administration policy, there's a lot in there about monthly updates between the treasurer and accountant, and the accountant to the
So my
town
crazy
administrator or the
idea about
board.
doing this monthly is not so crazy.
No.
No.
No, it's actually already written.
Did you?
As a reference,
Do you have that policy?
No,
Okay, I can get it to you.
I would like that. But
I
that's,
think
but
everybody
anyways,
got a copy when you
I
started.
prepared about 5 pages of that stuff for tonight, so if we could do it next time, that'd be great.
Okay, that'd be fine.
So we're supposed to bounce the ideas off each other so we can try to formulate someplace to go from here.
All right.
Okay.
We're still just trying to develop what we're
and I'm
gonna.
sorry I didn't get questions
Yeah,
myself,
because we
I
want
do
to figure
recall
out,
this.
we want to figure out what we're gonna ask them. And then from there, we can figure out how we're gonna proceed, but to know
For fiscal year 2000.
what they want and what they see their duties as, and then we can see how far off they are from what we expect off our policies, and how we might want to modify those policies to, just to make sure it gets done timely. And
Yeah.
I think part of the issue from what I hear is, they say we're all said we're gonna get it, they're gonna cover it. We've gotta have an avenue where they can ask us questions or ask for help, which I don't know if they feel like that's open to them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they, so, all that for next. Let me try to plow through this if I can quick.
Yeah, I mean,
I got 2 agenda items for the next meeting I'd like to put on.
Okay. Wanna let Greg finish, or did you
That-
write yours down,
that's-
Matt, or no?
I thought he was done, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off, Greg?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
All right, what do you got?
Discuss either existing or creating a new procedure on notification of closing of town offices to the Board of Selectmen.
Yes, yeah, I saw you did have a.
You mean like their hours?
Well, we had the mass buys, and we were surprised that we found out that the office was pretty much shut down that day without us knowing ahead of time. Just nice to have an idea of when people come and go. I would have liked to have gone to mass buys. I don't know who else found out about it. I found out about it beforehand, but it looked like it was closed online. Apparently
It's
it
a fire
wasn't.
So.
Because some of those seminars I think would have
Okay,
been
so-
great to procurements and things.
So I know this is stemming from my attendance at the Mass Buys. I have attended Mass Buys for no, I didn't go last year, but I have attended for 2 other visits to the Mass Buys. So I obviously get the invitation because I've already been in their system. Andrea has attended as well. Heather had attended once. Paula attended this year. All through, they got the invites. I don't know how how we started getting the invites, I don't know. I know we get invited because we've already been.
And I also understand, and our assistant administrator going, but I don't understand necessarily building department and other people going to that sort of event.
Well, I know Andrea went, we checked in with vendors that she buys the recycle bins through, because she supplies the recycling bins through a grant. So she visited with them. I'm not sure who Paula visited with, a couple as we passed through. But, so that I had attended, and that's for that reason. I mean.
And how, curiosity, how was this taken? Was this taken as a day off, or was this taken on town time? Or-
It's town time.
Okay, and
Who authorized that?
That's where we would need to visit this.
I mean, so I signed up for this months ago.
That's fine, I'm just
Okay,
asking
I
who
let-
authorized the
I
3
let
of you
Phil
to.
know.
Don't
Okay.
get defensive about it, it's gone.
No, I'm not.
We're
I'm
trying to
saying
set
I
for the future.
I let Phil know
So
the week
understand.
before that I was attending this.
Actually, I'm sorry. I just wanted this same topic to be an agenda item for the next meeting.
Okay, good.
Not to be the agenda to
It's not a-
discuss tonight.
This is not a,
So, exactly.
this is gone. We're just trying to, for next time, not get blindsided, and
So.
it was
one
my thought that you two should go and be paid to go, is my opinion of the
Okay.
town, so that's not the
Phil
issue.
did not attend with me.
I understand.
Okay.
But that was.
2
next time.
items. One was this closure that you just wrote. The second was, again, training and identification of the training that benefits the town and who goes and how we share that information is something else I would like to discuss. Not to necessarily say we're doing a bad job, I just want to discuss it, kind of work through it a little bit. So that's the two items I wanted to put on the
One thing to
agenda.
keep in mind is, you guys as a board don't oversee all the other departments. They have boards and committees that they answer
They
to.
all answer to the personnel policy,
I
which
would
falls
beg to
under our
disagree.
jurisdiction,
Okay.
and that's time off.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I was looking at it in a different
No, I
avenue.
think-
So
I
it
think
falls
ultimately
completely under our jurisdiction
it
under the
falls under-
personnel policy
I think
to
they-
ask these
You
questions.
probably are correct, they have a role. When you mentioned training,
Yeah.
are you including in that things like what Ellen tries to put together periodically, like open meeting law, the, records?
I'm speaking more for off-site training.
Okay. Well, that can be offsite.
It can be, but
Because
still the
sometimes-
general topic of, if you're, let's put it this way, if it's going to incur potential mileage reimbursement, it's going to incur potential cost to attend the training, and it's going to incur the potential of having to shut an office down because everybody's leaving for this training, those are kind of the things I want to talk about, just to see if
In
we
public
do or
notice
don't have a
process.
procedure in place to make sure it's properly communicated. Because in this one particular instance, and I understand the transition between department heads, I mean Heather leaving, and the process of meeting up his personal schedule with your preset training schedule you'd already talked about 3 months ago to your previous boss, not realizing that you ended up on the same day not being in the office. Because it happens with this weird transition we're going through. But generally, if the two of you are assigned to cover an office, my thoughts are you would double check that schedule once in a while just to make sure it's happening. And so that's just why I want to talk about it. That's all. I'm not saying you even did a bad thing.
What?
Or it was
Oh, yeah.
avoidable. It was just my,
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I wanted to talk about it with the rest of the board, so I'm not just barking in the dark
Pretty good
closet.
idea where they're playing, right at the end, you know, there's that house with
Yeah.
the island.
Yeah.
I'd love to know the story there. Okay, now,
So
is
agenda for next time, we're gonna leave that alone, right?
Okay.
We're not gonna keep going?
there
I got
any,
nothing more to say.
anything else to come before this great and ponderous board tonight? Hearing none, I will look for the appropriate motion.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, second?
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
Thank you.